What's happening? Benton here. We are live. The walk and talk got rained out, although I've been staying here in the the motel room. That's funny. Here of late. And I've had about enough of this bullshit internet. Not even my friggin' phone works here, really. Never have much of an upload speed. And do we really want to look at all of that mess in the background? Let's see. Hang on. What's up, Jackie? Still awake at work? Are you working nights? What's up with that? Big drink tea. What's happening, partner? Yeah, we may have a little bit of crossover from the CBO audience, although maybe not. And Big Drink Tea, he's here. Either way, much of the time. What's up, Carl? Yeah, I know, man. No kidding. Clean up that room, Bucko. I did finally scrub the bathroom, and I spent about $7 at Dollar Tree on cleaning supplies and mop the floor, and makes a huge difference, by the way. And I'm not a messy person, in spite of what you see back there. But I'm not obsessed with cleaning either, right? Definitely, and yes, indeed, there is no Gen X, as music holds a secret, as I like to say. Sometimes we get folded into the boomers in many ways, it seems. But I'm open for paneling, especially since CBO was live. I think they wrapped up about 15 minutes ago. If Machine Lies is around, maybe he wants to panel. I don't know. Although, don't know. We'll see. The link's out there if anybody wants to check it out. But yes, Carl, I unblocked you. I don't know why. I just forgot to do that. So my apologies, Carl, for not unbanning you myself. Indeed, shout out to the Hoarder Shut-ins. I'm starting to resemble that remark. We did get rained out though on the walk and talk, just for the record. Shout out to Dark Glasses Woody for the coffee. Although buyer beware, man. This was yesterday. I did my shopping while I was still streaming, and generally, I will look through the dates on the coffee bags and get the freshest one. Supposedly, I just grabbed one off the shelf in my haste and in my distraction. No, there's no expiration date on the coffee bag, so I think I got a bad one, but it's all right. It's coffee. You can't really fuck it up too much. Indeed, sir. Indeed. Well, thank you for your patience, Carl. And we'll see. Paul, Mr. Unslaved, he tends to listen to some extent, from what I've noticed. So perhaps he won't do that to you again, but perhaps he will. I don't know. If he does, I will unblock you myself. Oh yes, the monkeys. All we have to be is free. And I had said that I might have just taken the day off from this. I had said that if I don't schedule the live ahead of time, then maybe you won't see me. Meaning scheduling it the day before. But I see the flaw in that plan now because I woke up and I said, man, maybe I don't want to go live. But yes, indeed, shout out to the Hoarder Shut-ins. And it's up to y'all if you guys want to panel. I can do crowd work. Until or I can ramble until I hit upon a topic. For those who may not have seen these broadcasts, hey, what's up, man? I know I got rained out. EBT. Good to see you, man. Good stuff. I only caught the last, 45 minutes or so, but it's good stuff, man. And a lot of that, you guys are covering all sorts of things I've never even heard of. So, I love that. Right up my alley, the thoughts and the ideas. But yeah, we're rained out. But I've been doing these lately, and more from the motel room. I'm getting more bold about making a racket at 3 a.m. However, it's gotten a little noisier here in this general area. Oh, where my room is. No. Oh, kind of. I don't know, man. What do you think, Carl? You talking about the Robert Escobar show? I don't know, man. What is up with that guy? Yeah, dude. I know, man. It's getting bad. Well, if it was up to me, there wouldn't even be a bed there. I would just, in fact, if not for the way the frame, the bed frame is designed, uh, I actually looked at possibly just disassembling all of that, pushing the mattresses up against the wall. It's just not, it would be too much of an undertaking. But that's the problem, uh, living in an environment with all of these surfaces. And it's like a junk drawer at a certain point, right? But yeah, not looking good back there, folks. Not looking good back there. Not making me look good, certainly. But let's do this. Maybe this will help at least a little bit. See, now you can see at least less of it, right? I don't know if that helped at all. Go to the lower res, zoom in. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, your thoughts, Carl, on the Robert Escobar show. Maybe I will promote that. I don't know. There's something there with Mr. Robert. I haven't quite figured it out. $12 in the house. Yes, exactly. Any flat surface. Indeed, indeed. Yes, sir. Robert Escobar show. I think he was going to go live, but then I don't know if he thinks this is going to get him more viewers, but oh no, he's not live. Yeah, he's got one scheduled for 1:55 a.m. So it was over an hour ago. The Robert Escobar show. All right, give me a second here. Yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. I see what you mean. I'd like to see him more just talking about his life, really, than all the politics. Hey, what's up, Gary? Yeah, up and at 'em. Rise and shine, as it were. It's my connect. See, it's already just trying to do a screen share. It's already God, this internet, man. So I guess 16 more nights in the motel. Then we're out of here on to whatever may be next. Apparently, Phoenix may be next. Phoenix, Arizona, perhaps. And a large portion of the audience is in Arizona, so why not? Just got to avoid being, hopefully, Kim before the storm doesn't kill me, or Mitchell. Actually, probably Mitchell would be more likely to be the one to try that. But yeah, at the Robert Escobar show, and he normally has not very many viewers. I would at least like to see him to get up to 10. 10 viewers would be nice from Mr. Escobar. So if y'all want to check him out, I don't know that I can recommend the content, but he does stream every day from what I've seen. So perhaps he has some potential. It's going to hit the triple digits on the view count there. 93 views, 89 views, 3.5 hours on this one. So yeah. Yes, I think that's probably correct, Gary. And I certainly need to access the services of a city in some way, whatever resources may be available. So that's a possibility. I would like to stay more, towards the east if possible, just generally, but it's not California, Oregon, or Washington. being out west in Arizona, but not in one of those 3 states. Not a huge fan of Maricopa County, though, I must say. Hoax Wars. I still don't even know what this is. Hoax Wars, really? Yes, a convergence, Carl. Indeed. Hey, what's up, Divine Spirit? I was thinking about you after Mr. Unslaved was here. I think Sterling Ray might have been. I don't know. Some of the ladies were not back on yesterday's show after Mr. Unslaved was here the day before. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with all of that. I'm definitely feeling low energy, uninspired, brain fog, and I haven't eaten. I fasted. I feel like I've gained just enough weight, and I'm still underweight, but I feel like I've gained enough weight where I can at least do some fasting. I want to see, how that will, help further some of this healing, right? And I've certainly experienced a great deal of healing in the last year with my health issues and my health woes. So I'm definitely going to, in spite of how I talk about these things at times, I definitely am going and have been and will continue to do everything that I'm able to do, to facilitate these processes, if that's a thing. And Tuesdays is historically sort of a down day numbers wise. Although yesterday was a little better than I had expected, and I had toyed with the idea of just taking Monday and Tuesday off entirely. Oh, and I think I'm actually finally going to get my first YouTube payment on, I believe, should be, I think they said around the 21st to the 27th or something like that. There was a range of when I could expect that. But according to AdSense, I'm all cleared. Of course, it'll be interesting to see just how much of the money they keep. And then apparently they're going to tax me as well, right? They had me fill out a W-9. I guess I can just claim exempt, but I don't know, man. I'm not into paying taxes on donations, so I may very well just turn the super chats off pretty soon. I think that may be in the cards, and just go ahead and do a Cash App or something if folks want to donate, right? Oh yeah, the new kittens, born on September the 11th. Fantastic. Oh, I knew that, Divine Spirit. I just meant as far as whether or not you would choose to come back here. I certainly know there's no version of running you off if you don't want to be run off. I get that. Yeah, I get that. Oh, and what was this, Carl? I'm out of the loop on so many things. The Latchkey Kids. Is that a thing on YouTube, or should I just Google that? Humble Accountable Carl. Oh, you slept in. I could have, and this is the thing about the noise. Kids running around, hooping and hollering, and I forgot to put my earplugs in. Got woke up by some kids running around at like 9 p.m. And I go to sleep around. I think I went to sleep at like 6 p.m. yesterday. Oh, that's right. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Carl. Tied it in with the theme of the thumbnail. Yes, exactly. Yeah, latchkey kids, especially in the cities, right? No kidding. 1 for you, 19 for me, says the tax man. Yeah, Carl. Since I was born into a time warp, though, of course, both of my parents were in the home, and then my mother, she worked in the family business some of the time. Actually, she did a lot of book work, bookkeeping and accounting from our house. Actually, both my parents did, but my mom did not have a job the entire time I was growing up. Not one job. She was cleaning houses at a certain point for extra cash. Other than that, but yes, indeed, that was certainly a thing, Carl. And if anybody wants to call in, feel free. And I think that was this. I got confused with this Aaron Haywood fella who's been going in on Paul. He called in the other morning, and I thought he was I thought it was TBE trying to put on an Australian accent. So my apologies, Mr. Haywood, if you're ever watching. Because I accused him of not being in Australia and not being an Australian. But I went to his channel and looked at some of his videos, and it seems like, in fact, he is legit. And why I didn't think there would be multiple accents across Australia is beyond me. The more I thought about it, I said, well, it's not just I might be used to hearing one particular Australian accent. That doesn't mean there's not more than one. Cleaning houses is big. Yeah, you know what? I never made that connection, but you're right. Musical's a secret. That's interesting. Never even made that connection, but I think you're correct. Well, I try to stay out of whatever Paul Unslaved has going on interpersonally. I try to stay out of it as much as possible, but then that's, I tend to try to enact that strategy with lots of folks. But yeah, I haven't eaten since, when was my last food? 4 p.m. yesterday. And I don't know if the mental fog I'm experiencing is related to that or not, but dude, I'm out of it, just completely out of it. I got nothing. I'm just going to sit here, read the chat. If anybody has any suggestions on some content they might want to watch and have me react to, as long as it's not something super long form. I've had some folks email me, and also Woody has, Dark Glasses Woody's emailed me these long form, conversations, and I don't know what's happened to my brain. I'm just out of the mode of long form, taking in long form conversations for whatever reason. And Phoenix may be a good place to be. Yeah, after the heat is gone for me, even if I end up some version of homeless, which I am homeless, shout out to JG, but some version of in the streets for a while, if that were to occur, it might be a decent place. And I understand Phoenix is known for a homeless epidemic, but so is pretty much every city in the country at this point, with a few exceptions, right? Certainly out west. Would have been yesterday, I believe, but then Anglo Elite was trying to call in around the same time, and I just didn't have it was day before yesterday, I think. I'm not sure. It was on the long one. The I don't know, man. This is one of the worst days I've had with respect to my cognition and my mental processes, dude. Because normally when I hear a broadcast like you folks were doing over there at Chalk Body Outline, my brain starts firing off in a bunch of different directions, and then typically I'm able to add to the conversation, at least in the live chat. I had nothing, man. And I recognize those things about myself. So yeah, that's probably true, Gary. I would imagine. Interesting. Yeah, you know every detail about them. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. But I got an offer from somebody to at least stay with them, temporarily, right? So that would be nice. Go out to Phoenix, at least be on some decent internet, be able to do some live streams. Oh, I know, Heidi. I know. Be able to do some live streams, get my shit together. I definitely need to walk around and move around and, get some exercise, all of those things. Convalescing, continue my convalescing. But now I'm thinking maybe I just need to start sleeping as long as I can every day. Make myself stay up a little later, sleep in as much as possible. Use these next 16 nights to maximize the sleep. Yeah, I'm on the coffee right now, certainly. But there's another problem is I'm not sure the coffee is helping in this regard. Good to see you, Catch 22. I don't know if you know this. That is one of my favorite novels. Yeah, you know what? I missed by the time I tuned in, he wasn't. I need to go back and watch the whole thing. So I heard you had some tech issues, so I might start after the tech issues. But I'm hoping it stays up because I want to go watch it. But there's so much content nowadays. It's like I don't get to hardly any of it. But then, the junk food for the mind type of stuff, you know, just I just sat here yesterday and just like a zombie, just like clicking on YouTube videos like a fucking idiot. Like not even just like a zombified, right? Just completely, just a blithering idiot on some level. So maybe, perhaps I'll get back to reading some books. Who knows? But then other times, man, I'm sharp as a tack. It's a bizarre phenomenon. It's like I don't know when I'm going to have my access to my faculties. It's very strange. Although the 6 straight days of animal fat certainly helped for that time. Well, and we can get into the male female dynamics, right? And I don't think, I think there are people who don't need anybody to some extent. As much as I like to say, no person is an island, right? No man is an island, and that's true to some extent. And I would assume Divine Spirit has some sort of network of friends and family and whatnot. Hey, what's up, Jackie? Good to see you. Oh, really? Okay. Man, that's fucked up. Yeah, what's up, Jeremy A? Yeah, I'm not dead yet, partner. I ain't dead yet. Not feeling good today, though. I can tell you that. I do feel some version of death warmed over today. And then I'm having some abdominal pain, but then I'm wondering if that's just maybe my guts are trying to heal up, now that I'm haven't eaten since yesterday. So what's that? That's 36 hours almost. No food. And I'm not going to fast beyond 72 hours for any reason. I don't think anyway. Yeah, that's what I assumed. And, most ladies do. Of course, most males do too also, but it's more of a male thing to be sort of like my dad, no friends and family for the most part. Although, he's still in contact with his immediate family, obviously, as far as his kids, you know. But yeah, good to see you, Jackie. Oh man. But yeah, 322, by the way, 3:22 a.m. Day after 9/11. I guess it's good that it's 3:22, and as far as I know, nobody else is live because this is non-tent. This might be the worst. I don't know. I can't remember going live and just having nothing to say, like absolutely nothing. Maybe I should just replay Drew's. Oh yeah, fasting. I mean, there's no doubt about the fasting. Absolutely, certainly. And in fact, when I very first got off of the booze, and I knew how sick I was then. Right, once I got, because it's amazing how much the alcohol was keeping me functional over a year ago now, and I actually didn't eat any food for 12 days during that. And then we talk about how animals, when they're very sick or wounded, they know not to eat because part of that healing process seems to involve not eating. And I'm probably what may end up doing if my kidneys can handle it is I'm starting to research dry fasting because that seems to be much more powerful, and that seems to be more in line with a shorter duration versus the water fasting. Maybe with electrolytes, being more for longer potentially. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Hey, thank you, sir, for dropping that link. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back and checking it out. I might fire that up here shortly. See if that triggers any of my thought processes. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. We can suggest, and we can do. The reality is 99% of anything anybody's ever suggested here, I am doing or have done. So just be aware. But yeah, I prefer more of the general health talk. But yes, I'm a big ginger guy. In fact, I chose to live outdoors for 2 winters, although they were southern winters. But it does get cold in the south in the winter. Just not. It's not a real winter like up north. But I was taking in lots of ginger to deal with being outside in the cold is very effective for that, I can tell you. Yeah, ginger kombucha. I'm a big kombucha guy. And I do want to point out that, in my view, this is my opinion, most of the time when people think they have stomach issues, that's generally pancreas. It's generally going to be pancreas from what I've experienced. Typically, I think that's what that is. Outside of an actual, maybe a stomach ulcer, which, as far as I can understand, is bacteria, they say, or a virus or whatever. What's up, Bex? Good to see you. I know, Bex, if you ever want to call in, this might be a good time if you're into that. Yeah. Ginger, digestion in general, supposedly. Ginger, lots of health benefits, actually. Now, I will say this. I think turmeric is wonderful for lots of people. It's not good for me. I used to do a lot of turmeric, and I'm not sure it helped me overall. But and maybe this is just because I used to take a lot of turmeric every day, that now when I try to take it, it doesn't agree with me at all. But the ginger definitely works. Definitely. And kombucha in general, I'm a fan of, certainly. And if anybody, wants to panel, or Bex, I don't know, you can just do your show over here for all I care at this point, because I got nothing. Interesting. Yeah, dyspepsia, which nobody even really knows what that is, apparently, the dyspepsia. And supposedly Stonewall Jackson suffered from dyspepsia. Hey, here comes Big Drink Tea. Awesome. What's up, brother?
What's going on, Benton?
Oh, I'm chilling, man. How are you?
Good. Let me mute this other one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Turn your YouTube off.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, sir.
Man. Good. How you doing this morning?
I'm a little out of it, man. I don't want to complain and whine, but I'm not quite as sharp, and I don't have quite as much to say. So I'm still trying to do a broadcast here. So it's interesting, to see how that works out. So.
Yeah, I figure I'll give you a call in. I never call in, so I figure I'll give you a shout out today.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. It's my honor and privilege, certainly.
Well, I'm honored to be here. I appreciate you, Mr. Benton.
Damn. It's a beautiful thing, indeed. And for those who may not know, Big Drink Tea is into the crypto, or has been, from what I understand.
Oh, yeah.
And then, a lot of direct experience with the crypto, and then also the water, completely avoiding the chemicals in the water, as far as, only using distilled water. And he's talked about a lot of great health benefits he's experienced from just, not ever bathing in the city water and all of these things. I'm fascinated by all of that, certainly. But we could talk about other things as well, sir. Did you catch Chalk Body Outlines stream? And did we lose Mr. Big Drink Tea? If you're there, sir, I'm not hearing you, but I don't know. Yep. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. That's right.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah. You were gone for a minute, but you're back now.
Oh, that's weird. Yes, I say, the main thing I get when I talk to people about the distilled water is just they're intrigued by it, but yet they don't want to try it for some reason. I don't get it. It's everybody keeps talking about, it leaches all your minerals from your body.
Well, but those are the same people who are probably in the McDonald's drive-thru at some point also. Which is something I am fascinated by, that dynamic of because I had versions of this in my mind where I thought I was health conscious and all of these things. But then when I look at some of the things I was putting in my body in the past, but now am I really going to be worried that distilled water is going to mess me up? It doesn't really make sense,
Yeah, the thing I don't get is that's the only thing I think we can actually control is what we put into our body. As far as like food goes, you can't control that. I get all my food from my farm, all my meat, all my eggs, everything comes from my farm. and we don't do any vaccinations, no antibiotics, none of that. It's all natural out there. We don't even feed the chickens. It's all wild. They do their own thing. They're starved to death. They don't figure it out. But we don't give any antibiotics, none of that stuff. But there's still stuff in the air. It's falling down on us. We can see that. So the animals are eating that stuff. So I mean, there's really no way to get all this out of our systems, except for maybe pure water. So to me, when mainstream's telling you not to do something, I always got to look against that. I always look into it. Doctors telling you it's not good to drink it. I've been drinking it for like 7-8 years now.
Yes.
And just incorporated over a year and a half ago of only showering in it. So I mean, I wash all my vegetables. I don't even eat vegetables. I wash all my stuff in distilled water, all my dishes, everything. I'm literally trying to get away from fluoride. And I mean, you guys seen that stuff that was in that little black tote. That's over a year of just collecting that out of that distiller. That's ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah. And especially if people are using city water. I mean, it's insane. Like, I don't know what your water source is, if you have a well or what it is.
No, it's city water. I live in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's when you say he was moving. I wish I'd have known he was looking for a place before I was selling my house. I got it's almost like a duplex type setup. I could have had you down in downstairs. Man, we got fast internet out here.
Oh,
shitty winters. Shitty winters though.
Oh yeah. I've been to Ohio quite a bit truck driving, and yeah, man, I don't really. It's a whole thing, but I'm certainly I need to go somewhere, right, and do something. I might end up in Phoenix. I'm not really sure. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting rid of this van. I'm hoping to leave here at the end of October. I'm gonna head out west and going out to Slab City. Yeah, I'm gonna check out Slab City. That's why I was talking to Aphrodite. I asked her if she's been out there. She said she avoided it purposely, so that's kind of weird.
Well, I have a lot of experience with Slab City.
Really?
Absolutely.
So I never heard you speak of it.
Well, I have at times. In fact, Carl, who was in the chat earlier, me and him sort of bonded on that basis because he's fascinated with Slab City. But yes, I've camped out there for months at a time, multiple times, but never in the summer. I'm not a slabber, because to be a slabber, you have to spend two summers there. Apparently, I don't.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, I don't go there in the summer.
They say 120 degrees.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's a little hot.
Yeah, and having been there in the winter, they have bad weather. They have bad weather in the winter some of the time. It doesn't get cold necessarily, but it's not nice weather just across the board, and it's super fucking windy at times. Just be aware of that. And then when you want to talk about, there's no sanitation out there. Like there's no, there's no toilets or anything, right? And then we get into the salt, and we get into the Salton Sea. Of course, you'll be bringing your own van and all that. So I would definitely recommend checking it out if I was you, if you're interested in it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to. I appreciate the info on it, because I know you look online, there's not really too many people anymore. There used to be a lot of videos about Slab City, but for some reason they're all gone. I don't know what happened. YouTube's really changed a lot over the past few years.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I might be able to. I don't keep up with the YouTubers too much, but I know of a few. If you email me, or if I can get an email for you, maybe I could send you some links to a few channels. Because with how YouTube's gotten, everything's sort of just compartmentalized now. So even if something is there, it can be very difficult to find, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can search it with the full name and still can't find it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had that. I was subscribed to Illumitomy and still couldn't hardly find his channel. It's just it's bizarre. So more and more I'm going by the the actual username of the channel, the @ and whatever I'm trying to keep track of that. So at least I know I can type that into the search and go right to the channel.
When you was in Slab City, was you in a tent, or was you?
Well, I'll tell you whatever you want to know about it.
Yeah, when you was there, did you tent it out, or was you there in a van or a car?
Well, me and my my second ex-wife went out there together because we were in the general area. She had family in Hemet, California, which is Riverside County, which is not too far away, and we just needed somewhere free to camp. And I don't know if you know that I lived in I traveled around living out of a backpack for
yeah.
yeah, all of that. So, I had heard so much about Slab City, but I never really wanted to go there as a destination. But we needed a place to camp for free, So we ended up out there, and we had a car, so that's a bit of an advantage because that's a way to kind of help to get to know people. I think just they call it a slab cab. If you want to, people might give you a few bucks to take them to town and all this, because people have an idea that this is out in the middle of nowhere. It's not in the middle of nowhere. There's it's still a highly populated area overall. It is Southern California, lest we forget.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a super center about you can drive to a Walmart. It's about a 30-minute drive or more, even quicker depending on how fast one wants to drive. But yeah, there's a super center in Brawley, which is just south of there. But then the Salton Sea is nearby, and that thing's been dry for so long, and it's with the wind. Supposedly there's all kind of pollution blowing around out there. So it's not necessarily the most healthy area to be. A lot of the dogs roaming around end up getting parvo from eating the the feces, because it's just people digging pits, and like literally digging down 10 feet and then pooping, right? It's kind of disgusting in a way when to think about those things, right?
Yeah, that's the stuff we don't talk about.
Well, exactly, because if you look at the YouTube side of it, it sort of gets glamorized, and there is a lot of cool art. I'm really into art and visual arts, and there's a lot of cool stuff out there to look at. The whole East Jesus thing. I'm sure you heard of that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
I'm assuming it's bigger in person, because that looks like it's a lot. It took them all those years to do it. See, it's got to be a big ass mound of paint.
Well, yeah, Salvation Mountain is there also. Yeah, that's a thing too. And there's a couple of water tanks out there, old water tanks that have some pretty good graffiti on them. There was there's a lot of cool stuff out there, man. And the thing I would say for somebody who wants to check it out is it's like a lot of things. You really just have to go there, stay there, sort of immerse yourself in it. Me and her, since we needed the free camping, we just went and made a camp, and then we were just at our camp for like a month, just kind of hanging out with ourselves and sort of resting and all of this and getting our affairs in order. And then I started walking every morning, like to the internet cafe, and slowly but surely I got to know enough people, and then over time we were able to insinuate ourselves to where we were fairly, people know us. The last time I went back there, there was several people who knew me and all of this. So if you mention me, they may not remember me, but if I go out there, well, I'm just saying, if I go out there, I'll see people I know.
Well, I guess you do leave an impact everywhere you go. I'm betting.
I guess, man. I don't know.
It's one thing just to be a personable person. It's hard to find those guys these days. Everybody's still caught up in ego, I believe. I don't know.
Well, me as well, to some extent, definitely. And and one of the things I really liked is, I don't know if this is still going on, but somebody was broadcasting AM radio out there. I think it was AM. It might have been FM. I can't recall, but there was like a Slab City radio station, like playing music most of the time. And I don't know if that's still going on. Yeah. So that first month, me and her were just like, had one of those wind up radios, we're listening to the Slab City radio. Of course, there's a lot of cannabis around, obviously. And it got flooded.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Well, it got flooded too recently. So I'm sure it's okay now, but it is subject to flash flooding at times. But yeah, we were in a tent. But the thing about that is, with the high winds, you got to, even just being in a tent can be fraught with peril at times. Because you're definitely subject to some heavy winds, and straight up dust storms also were a thing.
That's one thing I thought of, was all the dust too, because I got one of those undermount ACs, and I was wondering how that's going to be affected with all that sand and stuff blowing around. But that's one of those things that you figure out when you get there.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's the main thing is, it's just like everywhere in the country now. There's meth users everywhere, right? So it's just mainly just making sure your stuff doesn't get stolen. I mean, that's really the biggest risk, because most people that go out there, it's going to have a lot to do with your ability to get along with these folks, and then the people who want to get involved in the more nefarious underworld type of activities. I'm not involved in any of that, so it really did not affect me, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. You go looking for trouble, you'll find it.
Oh yeah, 100%. So I didn't really have, yeah, neither one of us had an issue out there. Got to know a lot of cool people. There's always cool people coming through there. At a certain point, every once in a while, these folks from Los Angeles will come out there and just like party for the weekend. So they had this big, like, almost like an outdoor rave while I was there. They were dudes setting cars on fire, fucking setting off explosions. And it was almost like a miniature Burning Man at a certain point, dude. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, I was just thinking about when you were saying that, I was thinking about that too, the Burning Man. Kind of gained in my mind when you said burning cars. And
Yeah, yeah, and just a lot of cool art. A lot of people that are into art. A lot of people making crafts. A lot of barter. They call the rest of the world Babylon, which is true to a certain extent. So if I have to go to Brawley, then we might say, all right, I'm off to Babylon, right? Got to go back.
That's funny.
Back to civilization. Yeah. Yeah. It's cool, man. I enjoyed my time out there, certainly.
Yeah, I haven't really heard anybody say anything negative, but it's hard to find anything about it in general. I think it's trying to keep people from going there or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like anything else, man. It's like people go to national parks and then they just more or less drive through it and look at it and maybe camp out for a couple of nights and then they leave. It's sort of the same thing. Like I would say if you're going to check it out, you'd need at least a week to 10 days. I would say.
Oh, I'm about that. Yeah, I'm leaving here in October. I won't be back to April. This is my last. Yeah, I'm like semi-retiring. I'm only going to work for a few months during the summer and then take back off when it gets cold.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been on the back burner for like a couple of years. I wanted to do this on my 40th birthday. I wanted to semi-retire, but Bitcoin took a dive. I got caught up in that Celsius bullshit. Yeah, Celsius got me for a little bit there. So that stuff's still pending because that dude's in jail, I guess, allegedly. And I'm part of a class action lawsuit. But the lawyers that we're talking to, we're probably not going to get shit. Because they filed for like a chapter 13 and they did 11. They just keep moving, at that lawyer stuff. Well, me personally, I don't believe that there's a such thing as companies. So I think it's all just whoever runs it is getting all this Bitcoin and all this other crypto back from the people that got involved when they weren't supposed to know about the shit, I think, personally.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know a few people that got involved like when I did. And, they're all retired now. My one dude, he used to own the Brim and Pub Fredo here in Ohio. Him and his cousin, he just gave it all to him. Like, here you have it. Sold his house, moved to Florida. He emailed, well, he basically texted me every Christmas, man. It's like, well, thank you so much for telling me about Bitcoin. All that shit. It's interesting, man. It makes you feel good that you just told somebody about some information that may have been true, may have not, and then turned out that it was, and damn, it changed some people's lives. But I think the government or whoever is running shit, they want that shit back. They don't want us to be part of it. We weren't meant to be, I don't think.
Yeah, I could see that. Makes sense.
Yeah, and that's why I say like Coinbase, all these companies. I don't believe in companies. I honestly don't. I think it's all just one thing. It's just the illusion of choice.
Yes.
And I think, personally, I think what should have gave it away to everybody was COVID. Because as soon as every country shut down, but one, allegedly, man, I can't get everybody on my block to turn their damn porch light on. You're going to tell me every country just, come on, man, this shit ain't real.
Yeah. I agree.
So,
man.
Yeah. And, when that shit happened, it really shut my business down. Because at that time, I was about 80% all in the restaurants. Because I own a cleaning business and a painting business. And at the time, I was mainly just in restaurants. And when the government shut all the restaurants down, man, it really hurt me. I had to let off all my employees. And then they denied me. I got denied all the PPP or PPI, whatever. I think it was PPP loans. I got denied twice. A bunch of my family members got denied. But then I ran into some people that didn't even have a damn company. They said they had a company and they got a check for $30,000. This dude went and bought an Escalade with it. Still driving it. He didn't even have to pay the money back.
Well,
but yeah,
Well, and now the
Go ahead.
government claims it's going to be prosecuting a lot of those people. So maybe it's better that, you didn't get the money.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm looking at that dude all the time when I go to Toledo and visit my family. It's one of my cousin's friends, and he's rolling that Escalade. That shit's nice too. I'm for real. I was envious. I was hating too in my mind. I ain't saying nothing out loud, but at the end of the day, that's the whole point, is to keep people mad at each other. It's like, it's the teacher giving the one kid the candy bar, so everybody hates that kid all of a sudden. When he was the popular one, now everyone hates him because he's getting benefits from that everyone can see. It's just about keeping us divided.
Yeah, that certainly seems to be part of it. Definitely. So.
But yeah, man, Bitcoin really messed up my whole plans. Dropping down like that. I bought a bunch of miners. I was mining for a couple years, well, about a year and a half, and had to shut them all down. So now this house is sitting here. I've been in this house now for over a year, just idling. It ain't making me no money. It ain't doing nothing, just a liability.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm trying to finish painting it up. I had a guy staying here fixing the garage up. He ended up destroying, well, not destroying, but he messed a lot of shit up. So I had to fix all that nonsense up. Hopefully get out of here by the end of October and be in California.
Hey, have you been to California before?
No, I know. The only place I've been to, I went to DC when they had that stop the vote or whatever, stop the steal or whatever that was. That was cool. I don't do politics, but I went down there because of all the people, man. That stuff was just interesting to be around that many people. But yeah, we see Alex Jones when we was down there. That shit was hilarious.
I'm kind of out of the loop. What happened was this recent?
No, it was a few years ago. It was right before Biden won the election.
Oh, okay.
When they had that stop the steal in DC or something.
Oh yeah, I got you.
Yeah, we went out there. Me and a buddy of mine went down there just to walk around. It was cool. We had fun until it got dark, and that shit got weird. All of a sudden, man, it's like you could see those busloads of people just coming out of everywhere. Me and my dude seen it, man. We really did. Like you just seen all these Antifa folks just came out of nowhere. That shit was weird. And then if you go, there's a video I'm actually exposed online because Russian Today or something like that, RT, they were shooting a video and me and my dude was walking and they're interviewing the black lady in front of us. I didn't realize they were interviewing, we're all just walking. And here we're in a shot almost the whole video. Like, damn, we got exposed, man. But I don't think no one watches Russian Today, so.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, Alex, because I was a big Alex Jones, I listened to his show for years every day, and yeah, he was big on the Russia Today, as a media outlet, but I haven't kept up with any of it now. I have no idea what's going on now.
Yeah, what's funny is that, man, I wish I could remember a long time ago when Alex Jones first came out. This is years and years ago. And there was a young kid that used to roll with him. There's a younger kid who was like 14. He was starting to make some waves. And I can't remember for the life of me who he was, but I bet he's somebody big today. Because it was like he was being groomed way back then as like a baby truth or what they call now. But way before that word was even invented. We're talking.
That wasn't
like right
Rex?
after.
Was that Rex? Was that Rex?
I couldn't even tell you. I wish I knew.
Well, his son was on there at that age. His son Rex.
Maybe it was a son then. I didn't realize it was a son. I just remember seeing a young dude on there, and I was like, man, this dude is being, he was talking that craziness. I'm like, man, he sounds just like that, Alex Jones.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Rex. That's his son.
Oh, that makes sense then.
Yeah, he's like
20
now, I think.
That goes to show. I don't remember. I wasn't a big Alex Jones fan. I didn't like the way he talks. I don't like people that talk like that. It bothers me. Sounds like a preacher. Yeah. Where he's like, he's like, let's calm down. Ain't that important? He's been saying the same shit all these years. He's all amped up. For what reason? What are you talking fast for?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Just gets you all amped up in the moment, man. We're like, man, I got to donate some money to this dude. I don't know why. I just want to.
Yeah. Almost like a religious fervor.
Yeah, it seems like I think he's got like a knack for that to wow people up. Because I mean, I don't even like the guy, and if I listen to him for a few minutes, I get that vibe from like, man, where's Trey? When's the Trey coming around?
Yeah,
that's the main reason I quit going to churches, man. That stuff was crazy. I used to belong to 2 different churches, do this stuff all the time. Studied theology for 16 years. walked away from all that stuff, man. That's why I think when I seen CBO start going that religious route, it's kind of weird seeing the truthers do that. You know, it's kind of going backwards in a way. For me, I don't know. All the truthers I see, most truthers go the other way once they realize it's all shenanigans. Why would you believe that one?
Well,
that should be the biggest shenanigan.
Well, I can't speak for anybody else, but I know the way that my so I don't want to address Drew specifically, but I know that my parents got involved with the Jehovah's Witness religion, you know, when I was a very young child, and part of that for them was wanting to raise their children, you know, with specific moral values. And then with him having young children, that may, again, I'm not addressing him in particular. I'm just saying for parents who have young children, that can be a motivator, religion, you know, as a way to help raise the children.
I can see what you're saying. Yeah, kind of like hoping that they, look out for my baby type stuff. Yeah, I get you.
Well, or just to teach them proper values in a way. I mean, there can be some benefit. It's not just completely garbage in that regard, as far as I'm concerned. But you know, it can be done outside of a church. Obviously, it can. So I sort of see both sides of it, if that makes sense. And I'm on record, you know, religion more harm than good overall, certainly.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Especially when you've been down the other path, you know, where you were really into it, pushing that stuff, and then you step back like, damn, I was leading all these people astray just like myself. Feeling guilty about that.
Well, you know, if I'm just by myself, though, it's completely different than someone who's considering a wife and children. You know, it's just, I'm assuming I've been married, but I've never had children. But you know, once we get other people involved, and then the man's, you know, sense of responsibility, like I can see it, I can understand why that would happen. Certainly,
trying to get some of that burden off your shoulders, just even if it's just metaphorically, passing some of that responsibility to somebody else. Something maybe, I don't know. Only thing I'm looking forward to is Slab City, baby. That's it.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
So I can check it off the list.
Yeah. Any plans on anything else you're planning to do in California? Because I love California personally.
Yeah, I've never been there. I've heard so many negative things about it just because of liberals and all that stuff. But like I said, I don't get into politics. That shit don't bother me. I just want to go see something different.
Well, and I'll say this, man. Well, sorry to cut you off, but forget about the government and forget about, you know, the leftism and the communism and all of this. It's the best state there is. There's nothing else comes close to California for just the actual state itself, as far as the geography and the people to some extent. There's just it's the best. The West is the best, man. That's, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, being born in the East, I want to hear that shit. No.
Hey, man, you know,
that's Arkansas. I could imagine. Oh, Arkansas. That's
where I'm from. Yeah. So, you know, I love the East Coast also, but the West is the best, man. It just is. It's just how it is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some new faces, man. Something different.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same old stuff around here.
Well, and then here's another thing. You know, they talk shit on the San Francisco Bay Area, dude. I like cities. That's by far my favorite city. It's not even close. Seattle's my second favorite, but then, you know, that's what we hear all the bad. And Portland also is awesome, but that's what we hear all the, you know, the negativity about is those three places. But, you know, the crime is definitely a thing. So if you do choose to go to those areas, you know, and I wouldn't even fuck with Portland or Seattle personally, as far as because of the time of the year. But San Francisco is not bad. It won't, even in the winter, it's not bad for weather wise. And then you've got places like Santa Barbara that are really nice in the summer, or I'm sorry, in the winter rather. So there's a lot to check out, man, if you're so inclined.
Yeah, I got plenty of time to do it, and that's like I said, just take my time with it, go slow. I don't want to go see everything at once. Let's say it's gonna be a long journey here. It's gonna be a different journey, you know. But I spent a lot of years working. You know, these past 8 years, I've been nonstop working 17-hour days. You know, having that van, building that van out was one of the best things I did because I could leave. I'm at the job site, just go out there, shower. I'm ready to go to the next spot or whatever has to happen. Just being mobile, man. There's so many benefits to it. Being, you know, my daughter, she's 21 years old. She'll be 22 here this month. So I'm all done raising the kids. So I'm ready to go, you know. All the
Yeah, man.
responsibilities are all taken care of.
Hell yeah, dude. Awesome. What is it
Finally.
like a Sprinter van or what are we talking about?
Yeah, it's a ProMaster. I think it's
Okay.
a Dodge Ram. Well, not
Yeah, Dodge
Dodge.
Ram.
It's
Yeah.
a Ram. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think
Ram.
it's a
Yeah.
Dodge Ram. They
Ram.
call them
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I went with that one because it has the flattest like walls and everything. Like I was gonna go with the Ford Transit, I believe, but there's too many panels, way too much stuff. Yeah, I did it all myself. It took me 4 years to build that stupid thing.
Damn.
Yeah, I was working. I'm working 17-hour days, and I'd get off work, and I'm in the parking lot at work, just out there tinkering around, building stuff, until I had to just go to sleep and wake up and do it again. I mean, 4 years, just me. I live that MGTOW philosophy, lifestyle, Sigma male type deal. I don't really interact with too many ladies. Just keep my circle real small. Don't really have any friends. I go riding. I just take my bikes out on weekends, go riding everywhere. But I'm
Nice.
tired of riding around here. I want to go ride somewhere else. That's what I said. I'm loading my bike up and I'm leaving.
Like, what are we talking? A bicycle or a motorcycle?
No, I have a CBR 650F Honda,
Oh, okay.
and then I have a Harley Davidson Night Rod.
Nice.
That's what I really want to take that bike, but it's too heavy. My trailer can't hold it. I'd actually have to get a trailer, and I don't want to do that.
Well, and I don't know much about motorcycles. Is the Honda a dirt bike or what is that?
They call it like a sport bike.
Oh, okay. But not a
It's
cross road.
like cross rocket. Yeah, it's a cross rocket in a way, but it's an F model, so you're more sit up, more like a bicycle. You're not all crouched over.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it's got the same look of it, just the way the pegs are. They're a little bit in a different position, so you're sitting different.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 41 years old. I can't be crouched up like that for all those hours. But yeah, I think go
That
ahead.
sounds like a cafe racer style of setup. Is that what that would be? I don't. Again,
No,
I don't know
it's more. It looks like a cross rocket.
okay.
It's just the way the pegs are. It makes you sit a little different, where you're not all laying on the gas tank. You're actually sitting up.
Okay.
So it's just an F model. A lot of people, some people don't like them because it's not. It's a 650, so it's different than the 600. It's geared different. It's got low power, so you can do wheelies and all that.
Oh, okay.
But you can wheelie any bike if you know how to ride it. But with a 650, it's a little easier because it's got a lot of lower end torque, just to yank the wheel up.
Nice.
But the Harley, now that Harley, I got that Night Rod. That's the fastest Harley they make.
Okay.
It's like their drag version, their drag bike version. But the Harley guys don't like them. They say it's not a Harley. So I get a lot of shit from them guys now.
Well, I don't like Harleys, so I would probably like yours. If the Harley guys don't like your Harley, I probably will because I don't like the ones that they like.
That's why I bought it, man.
Yeah.
I swear that's why I got my uncle. I bought the Honda. My uncle gave me shit for a couple years. Oh man, he won't ride with me. He said you ride with a jet bike. I'm like, that's some crazy shit, man. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go get a Harley. So I've been looking for a couple years, and it finally came up for sale. They're hard to find. Nobody liked them. So they did just reintroduce them this last year. They did reintroduce that bike. It looks cool now. It looks like a RoboCop bike. If you ever have a chance to check it out, it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, man.
But so I get that bike, and he's like, "Man, that ain't a Harley. It's liquid cooled because it was designed by Porsche and the motor and all that." Yeah, it's really nice. Like, if you ask me, it's a work of art because like the way the motor, you can't even put your hands in there to get around. It's so tight. Like it's so designed, just so perfect. It's just cool. It's not like my Honda where you take those fairings off and the whole motor's you can see everything. The Harley, I don't even want to work on that thing. I don't know how you're going to get the tops of the motor off or anything.
Well, it's a good problem. Good problem to have, I suppose.
Yeah, like I say, I think that was one of the changing points in my life too, is getting a motorcycle, man. Any guys out there that's debating on it or thinking about it, man, do it. Go take the class if you're nervous. That's what I did. I went and took a MSF class at Harley Davidson. It was like $400 or $450, something like that. Best money you ever spent. 3 days. They build your confidence up. That's what it is. You know how to ride a bike. The shit's easy. Once you start going, it just holds itself up, But it's the confidence that someone's going to kill you or you kill yourself.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
I was,
So
I
once
was
I left the
never in,
class, I was constant. I was ready to go once I left the class. Once you do your class, you ain't got to take the test at the DMV. You just go down there and pick your license up, which is really
okay.
benefit. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I think it's an endorsement actually in most
Yeah.
states, motorcycle endorsement.
Yep.
But,
And then don't let your license expire because then your endorsement expires too, and then you got to retake all that crap again.
yes. Big deal
Simple.
there. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a little scams, man. They try to get you.
Always, man. Always something.
That's what I think you were talking about, like taxation. And I was trying to type in, but I'm working. I got pain in my hands. I couldn't do- But it's funny you said that because it's so true. I'm shutting my businesses down right now. I'm selling all my stuff, shut my business down. I'm done with this pain, this, slavery shit, whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
I'm gonna go back to the old school, cash in hand type deal.
Yep.
But as far as that goes, like a good example is like my cleaning business. I don't sell any products. I don't do anything like that. All we do is we take our physical bodies in there and we physically clean stuff and we leave. That's it. We don't do nothing. But yet I got to charge sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I got to give, my daddy or masters 22% of my money, or it's 8% here in Ohio. But once you do your, all your taxes that they take, it's almost 22%. Now, if you're a W-2, you're in the 28-30% range.
Mm-hmm.
1099s, you can really play around with those numbers. And I think that's another reason why. I think that's the main reason why they didn't give any PPP loans to any of those people that had real real businesses, small businesses, because they wanted all of us to fail.
Oh well, that's part. It's always part of it. I think we fuck ourselves up because we go problem. Okay, here's the problem. What could cause the problem? And then that's the reason why the thing is happening. But it's always multi-layered and multifaceted. It's always a lot of things simultaneously. But that's definitely part of it.
Yep. Because the only thing that kept my cleaning business going was that I had a couple of apartment buildings. And that was it, because they kept me on, and I got some kind of bonuses because of the, it was dangerous to be outside in the world at that time. It was funny though. It was interesting because I was driving around. I never really shut down, and it was weird to be in Cleveland and have no traffic. I mean, I was getting all the way out to Concord, which takes me about an hour, about 45 minutes to an hour. I was getting there in about 28 minutes. Doing the speed limit, just because people ain't cutting you out. It's crazy.
Well, I drove a truck all during that time, and there was about 2 to 3 weeks when there was just effectively no traffic anywhere. And I mean, anywhere.
Did it make you have the feeling of a Seinfeld episode when you had the wide lanes? Just because there's no one on the road, just going back and forth?
Well, I mean, as a truck driver, it's great because a lot of what we're doing with planning the trip is avoiding certain cities at certain times of day. So it's refreshing in a way not to have to even think about that. Just knowing.
Yeah, see that stuff. I wouldn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is if I got to go through New York City, in a big rig, if I have to go through that area, it's not that bad. But if I hit it at the wrong time of day, it's real bad. So, I literally drove through New York City in an 18-wheeler, and there was one other vehicle on the road, and this was just middle of the day, like middle. Unbelievable. Of the day. Yeah,
it was like one of those movies that you see when there's no one on the road. 28 days later type deal.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. So, and no police anywhere, just no cops to be seen anywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of cops, they just started this.
Go
ahead.
You
said for 2 weeks. I said, speaking of cops, and they just started Operation 216 here in Cleveland. Like I'm in a suburb of Cleveland. I'm about 20 minutes outside of it. But man, you can see it. They're cracking down right now. They're doing all these sweeps because this crime out here is getting out of control. I'm not sure what the news is showing. I don't watch TV. I haven't had a TV in many years. But my mom was telling me about that Operation 216, and she was saying in her neighborhood, she lives over in the Euclid area, and it's pretty bad over there if you ask me. But we're from the north end of Toledo, man. We grew up we grew up in a real bad, shitty neighborhood. So like we see it out here, it's like this ain't too bad. And everybody else is like, man, you should have seen it 10 years ago. It's so much nicer. It's always the past was better, it seems.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to call in, man, and see what was going on. Bet you seem like you're kind of down today. I don't know why. You always cheer me up. I don't know how you could be down when you're cheering me up. That's weird.
Yeah, I'm a little off today, but you know, I don't want to get into the health stuff, but I got a lot of
No.
things going on with my health. But yeah, man, I just do the best I can every day. I mean, it sounds like a cop out, but it's really not. You know, if you know, if I'm sharp one day, I try to take advantage of that, and then if I'm kind of down like today, hey, thankfully you showed up and you know carried the conversation for the most part. So I appreciate
Like I said,
that.
I don't know. I can't speak for everybody. Like you say, you speak for nobody. I speak for myself, but I really appreciate your conversations that you have. And no matter what, you know, no matter what's going on, I always log in and see you on here. It's, oh, there you go. It's always a friendly voice to hear, man.
Well, thanks,
never,
man.
It ain't none of that craziness. I don't know about some of your buddies you hang with. Some of them guys are crazy. Some of them hop on. I'm like, all right, Mr. Benton, we'll see you tomorrow.
I feel you, man. And your feedback is always appreciated. And like I said, anytime you want to hit me with an email, feel free. Because
yeah, I'm definitely, I'll send you that so we can keep in touch. I don't want to give it out here because there's probably some crazy women out there, man, looking for me. I'm nervous.
Yeah, I get it. Well, and the thing is, I put my email in most of these videos. It's in the description, so you can just email me and, hey, this is Big Drink Tea. And even if I just have your email address, you know, that helps. And I know some of the truthers are so paranoid when they hear that, they'll think, oh, he's just trying to get our information. But it's like, use a burner. I don't care, you know, just so I can send somebody an email, because I think email is a tool that people aren't really utilizing properly in a lot of ways. It can be very effective to, you know, stay in touch. Definitely.
Yeah, you can get a huge email links going on, send out 50, 60 messages at 1 second, you know?
Well, and that, and just, you know, if people keep the same email address, you know, over a period of years, I've got people I haven't talked to in years, and every once in a while, maybe one of them emails me out of the blue, or maybe I email them, right? But I don't have their phone number, you know, I don't necessarily know where they live. You know,
that's funny because
go ahead.
Say about phone numbers. Yeah, I can't even really remember a phone number, to be honest. I'm so used to just pushing the person's name and pressing send.
Yeah, and you know, more and more everything's on the phone, and even I do email on the phone to some extent, but I'm just never have been a phone person overall. So, but email, you know, has always worked for me. So I'm trying to push more things to the email. So, but like I said, at least if I know, hey, this is Big Drink Tea's email, one day I might be thinking, hey, he would probably like to see this, and I can just shoot you an email. Hey, man, check this out. And it might have something to do with Slab City, or, you know, you might know that I'm into a certain topic, and hey, Benton might want to see this. And, you know, just fire off an email, right?
Yeah, that's how it starts off, man. One email at a time, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about that time, about to get the steam water, getting the steam shower going. Twice a day, baby.
Oh, you're steaming, huh? That's cool.
Yeah, I steam, and then I take the shower afterwards, because I only use 1.5 gallons of water per shower.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Where's all these these conservative people that want to save the planet? They ain't watching my video. Look how much water I use showering. My water bill is ridiculous. I pay more for a fixed fee than I do for my actual water I use. I got a bill where it said I used no water because I used such little water it didn't even register.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I had that my buddy move in downstairs. Man, the water bill went to like $90. It's like it went from $40 to $90, and it only went up, you know, to 0.2 or whatever they go by, MFCs or MCCS or whatever the numbers they use.
Well,
but yeah, it's just,
well, America it's a nation of scams. Everything's a scam now, like everything.
Everything. That's why I tell people all the time, it's all losing a choice. Verizon, Sprint, it's all the same shit. Just if you get pissed off at Verizon, they want you to have an outlet so that way you can go somewhere else, so you're not out there in the streets like Verizon. Hey, you know, they give you the outlet. Because like here's the I'll say this and then I'll get out of your hair. The illuminating company, whatever electricity you have a supplier and a distributor. The hell are you talking about? But so I get to pick my supplier, but the distributor is illuminating company. My supplier is such and such, some random name. but I got to pay this company. And they're like, oh, if you have any issues though, don't call us. Call your supply. Call your the other person. It's just so weird. So I'm paying.
Yes.
It's really weird, man. Because I only really learned all that when I was mining that crypto, because I was really conscious about how many cents per kilowatt. And for me to be profitable, I had to be under like 11 cents a kilowatt, and I was at like 7. So I mean, I was killing it for like a year and a half. I was making over like 200 plus a day just in profits after the electricity bill. The electricity bill is like 1,800 a month.
Oh, for the mining the crypto?
Yeah, it was funny, man. My neighbor thought I was growing weed. Like my whole house, the whole house is over like 90 degrees in here.
Damn.
All winter. I had windows open, Benton. I'm dead serious. I had windows open, and I had them in the basement. And I got like it's a 2-story house, 4 bedrooms. It's huge. The whole house had all the windows open. Around my house, there was no snow on the house, around it. It was ridiculous. And my buddy's like, man, it looks like you're growing weed in there. I was like, yeah. He's like, you're the only house in the block with no snow on it. I was like, damn, that's true. But yeah, it's interesting. I was using 78 amps of my 100 amp service.
Wow.
It was like, I couldn't even, if I turned the toaster on, it would pop my main breaker. I couldn't even turn it up and on. It sucked. Like this house is just, I only had the house just to mine. That's what was here. It was making good money, man. And they pulled out the rug.
Mm-hmm.
So now I got like $80,000 worth of fucking Bitcoin mining equipment just sitting in a box, not in boxes.
How much? How much money?
Over 80 grand.
Damn.
Yeah, dude, the machines are expensive.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, like my average machine was like 9 grand. And I ended up getting scammed on one from eBay, from China. Go figure. Yeah. So I had a hot deal. I ended up getting scammed on it, going through court for over a year, and they still found me guilty of it. It was weird. Had all the evidence and everything. That's why I say it's all just a setup just to screw us, man. So that's why that was like the nail in the coffin for me, or the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm like, you know what? I'm done with all this. I got my bag. I'm about to take off. Screw it. I'm not going to play with the people no more. They can have it.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of folks are at now. I don't mean in general. I mean as far as the people that come to this channel. I think that you're, there's a lot of us feel that way. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, how long can you just let this go on before you're just like, you know what, enough is enough? It's just too much anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Like I said, like someone in the chat said, no man can be an island. I've been an island for a long time. I don't mind it, but now I feel like that water's starting to creep up around me. It's like, wait a minute, now it's starting to affect me. It's weird. So shit's getting bad when it's affecting a person that doesn't even do anything. I don't eat no fast food. I don't do none of that stuff. I'm not even part of any of this. Go to the store to get odds and ends stuff. I get all the food from my farm. That's another thing too. That kind of sucks is by getting rid of this house, I'm getting rid of the share program I have going on, because I got 16 or 17 families come here every Thursday to pick up, milk, produce, all that stuff from our farm, because I do a drop off point at my house.
Damn.
I don't know if you know, in Ohio, it's against law to buy raw milk.
I think it's that way a lot of places.
Is it? I'm not sure. I'm only from, I live here.
I'm pretty sure it's that way in a lot of places.
But if you're an owner of a farm, and I do quotation marks, you can get it, no problem. It's like, what? Oh, so I got to pay a little tax, I got to fill out a form and pay a tax. I can get it? Sure. Sounds like some more permission slips.
Well, but that further shows how, our psychologies are formed within the system such that we just think it's normal up until a point to just have to have permission, to have to be, what am I allowed to do versus, it seems like now we're starting to see some of us just how ludicrous and ridiculous all of that is. Just the idea of,
Yeah. I think the older you get, the more you notice it too, because you got more time to ponder on your finances.
Mm-hmm.
You're younger, you're spending, X amount of money on drugs or alcohol, stupid stuff. So you don't notice, you're not paying attention to all them taxes being taken from you. Looking at that girl down the street, you trying to get in those pants. I got
That's
time to
right.
look at my 1099. What are you talking about? W what?
Yep.
But all
You're
right, man, I'm about to
absolutely
get
right.
out of here. Like I say, man, I appreciate you. I'm glad to hear your voice again every day. I wake up and I hear you, and it makes me just knowing that we got another day of listening to Mr. Benton.
Well, man, I appreciate you. And anytime you want to pop in, just feel free to. You can just let me know in the chat if you got something you want to say, and I'd be happy to have you up anytime, brother.
Well, I appreciate that, Benton. All right, well, shout out to
Yeah,
your
yeah.
chat. You got one of the livest chats I can see, most realest people, as far as I can tell. Oh yeah, shout out to Capricorn. She always out there shouting me out. Appreciate her.
Oh yeah.
I think she likes that distilled water, man. It must be doing things for her. I'm telling you, people need to try it. Change you. But
Absolutely.
that's
I drank it
unsolicited
for a long
advice, right?
time. Well, I don't know about that, but I hear you though. You've been listening, so I appreciate that certainly.
Yeah. When you're fond of something, man, I feel all the benefits. I can see. It's hard not to tell people about it.
Well, I don't think there's
It's not like
anything wrong with telling them. Yeah, let them know about it. Certainly.
yeah. It's when I'm trying to push it into them. Has that problem?
Well, I don't think so. I think the way people's psychology works is just, more. I find that it works more if you just talk about what it's done for you, and then if they're if these other people are morons, they're just the people who are smart enough to listen to what you're saying. Maybe they'll try it for themselves, and if it works, they'll keep it. If not, they'll probably move on to the next thing. Right? That's the way I
Right.
look
Makes
at it.
sense.
Anyway. Yeah.
Well, you're a wise man, Mr. Ben. That's why I listen.
Oh well, I am powered by compliments on some level, but yeah, thank you, sir. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody for listening. And it's funny because I knew in the first few minutes that I didn't have much to talk about. So, but that's what's fun with the live streams is, well, now Big Drink Tea shows up and carries the conversation. So, I enjoy those dynamics of not knowing what's going to happen, and then even when I'm not at my best, it seems like somebody else will come along and pick up the slack. So, I think that's great.
It's that one song, "Lean on Me." I like that song. It was one of the first songs I remember when I was in school.
Which one?
But yeah, "Lean on Me."
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good song. It's like one of those clean songs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, pure. There's a purity there, certainly.
Yeah, so we don't have that no more. It's all about the twerking, baby, and getting that money.
Oh man. Yeah, I feel sorry for a lot of these young people. Definitely feel sorry for them.
They don't know what the sun's like, and they don't know what it's like to have a real friend in life. It's all these online people nowadays, especially for the children. It's horrible.
Yep, most
But
definitely.
but all right, Mr. Ben, I'll see you tomorrow if you're on.
Well, I plan to be.
I'll see you there then.
All right, man.
All right. Yep.
Yeah, I hope you hit my email. Just even if you just say, "Hey, this is Big Drink Tea. This is my email," just so I'll have it if you're so inclined. That'd be cool.
No, I will as soon as I get off here.
All right, man. Well, thanks for
All right. Well,
swinging by.
yep. Have a good morning. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother, man. Take care.
Later.
Later. That was Big Drink Tea. That was awesome. Indeed, Pale Horse Rider, legendary caller. And shout out to Forever Conscious Research Channel. Always good to see him cruising through. Go check him out. He's got a big channel now, at least for the truther side of things. I don't know if he calls himself truther, but this I don't really either. But this is that's what we're calling it, I guess, the so-called truth community. So yeah, that was dope, man, and I'm excited for him. And I know we've got there's a lot of negativity around California, and some of that certainly comes from me in some ways, but I certainly remember going to California for the first time, being able to check it out. And there's so many cool places to go, in spite of what's going on these days. And certainly the crime has gotten worse. But lest we forget, crime was off the charts in the early 90s, and then that's a cyclical thing. So, and a lot of folks here are anti-city in general. So I can get an largely populated states, which is I understand certainly. And of course, this is a man with a farm. Lest we forget, I kind of wanted to ask about the farm a little more, but can't get into everything at all, all at once. But curious if he's keeping the farm or just kind of wondering where that's going to go in the future. So yeah, good stuff. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, big time. Big time, Gary. Certainly. And just pretty much anybody, that gets into having a farm and, you know, how many people own farms, own a physical farm and equipment to a farm, technology farm mining, crypto. If you think about it that way, that's some version of farming, right? They call it mining, but it's a similar thing, I would think. Speaking only for myself. Yeah, that's interesting, Moose. I'm not quite sure what you know by that, but yeah. Well, and I can also understand just being over a place, right? Because I'm over Arkansas to some extent, and in fact, I without the fake pandemic, the chances of me ever coming back to my home state and spending any significant amount of time was pretty low overall. Other than just for specific reasons, but this the shittiness of my state became an advantage, because of the fake pandemic. Certainly, that it's so undesirable of a place, in many ways, second only to Mississippi, for not wanting to go there. A lot of that keeps people out, which can be an advantage, right? All these Californians, they're not coming to Arkansas, not in mass. They're flooding into many other places, and nothing against Californians. I got nothing against them, but we know what's going to happen. Texas is going blue, like we've talked about. That's pretty much a foregone conclusion. North Carolina is effectively there, as far as I can tell, and not because of the Californians necessarily, but the Texas thing. I think that a lot of that is directly California related. I would say. Um, Not crypto. Okay, I see, Gary. Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's where I could have utilized some of my contacts a little more effectively, right, in the past years. What Big Drink T was talking about. He's like, "Well, shit, I wish you'd known." Because apparently he had a place I could have stayed potentially in the past. So some of that's on me to sort of pull my head out of my ass and network with people a little better. It's not something I've it's not that I'm bad at the networking. It's just that I haven't focused on it. So especially now with my illness and as I go further into potentially debilitation and all of this, obviously the for me, networking is going to become more and more essential, I would say. And I'm actually the one that's been propagating a lot of the no man as an island ideas, but I'm sort of dealing with that in a certain type of way. I'm trying to work within that concept. Uh, and part of where I come down on the no man as an island is that I'm seeing, especially with this content creation, the live streaming, trying to derive, if at all possible, I want to be able to derive most of my income from online. That would be a way to deal with the, like I said, what I'm going through with my health, and everything I look at is it's all set up more or less for me to do everything myself. Well, I'm super good at certain aspects, and then I'm almost just oblivious and worthless in other aspects. So that's kind of where I get into this no man as an island. It's like, man, I need some help in certain ways, but then or I could use people's help, but then also I can help other people, right? So I think that's where we get into you know a lot of folks just don't have those skills to work together, right? And that's some of what I learned out on the West Coast. I increased my ability to work with other people from being around people who you know have skills at working together versus the reality is where I'm from, and it's not just Arkansas. There's a cultural thing, especially with these people who think that they think they're conservatives, where it's just like, hey, go out and homestead or go out and have your own thing. But they don't necessarily work together, with each other effectively based on what I'm seeing. And I'm not saying, and I know 10 different people might start posting in the chat, well, I'm working together with this, that, and the third. Yeah, I understand it's a thing that's happening. I'm talking about more on a, on a greater scale. It seems like in American society, especially the white folks, I'll go ahead and call it like I see it, especially the white folks aren't necessarily, doing those things, working together. And that's what, if you get to know some people from other cultures who live in America, which I've been blessed enough to do that. Some of the cultures that we may associate with business, especially, like the people from India. And I had a really good friend in college who's, he grew up here, but his parents were from India, and of course went into business, obviously, or I guess some of them become doctors or whatever. But he was in business, and that's what he told me was like, he said, a lot of white people sort of scapegoat these other cultures and sort of feel like the government, and why are they able to come over here and have all these motels and stores and all this. And the Asians also, to some extent, the Oriental folks. But it's like, that's what he, and I didn't ask this question, but he sort of asked it and answered it. And he said, yeah, it's like white people don't really work together. And I see that, like, not compared to other cultures, we just don't work together. And again, I'm speaking very generally. I know some do. It's not a black or white 100% across the board. I'm just speaking generally. And we seem to be set up more for the corporate side of things, as well as other cultures also, right? And education in this country, it's obvious, right? Or it could be obvious to us that, here's, education is set up. It's corporate. It's corporate education. And this is where I enjoy a lot of the Paul Enslaved material. Is it's helped me think in terms of corporate. So it's basically, almost everything. It's corporate education. It's corporate employment. Everything's corporate, which is anti-human as far as I'm concerned, right? When I tap into my own humanity, how is corporate, how is the concept of a corporation involved in that, right? And I understand we can go to the word wizard side of things and corporation being involved in dead entities and a corpse and all of this. That's fine. Yeah, I get it, but I like that side of it also. But as far as what can I do right here, right now, in the physical, or what seems to be the physical, even as I'm less physically capable, right? It's interesting. So, and that's where I do, resonate with that ad hoc, grassroots, get in where you fit in ethos, right? People like Big Drink T, he's not going to, he seems to understand that he's not going to be able to insert himself into corporate society, right? Or it's a scam nation. Like I said, America's just, as far as I can tell, it's just a series of scams. Well, a genuine, good-hearted, conscious, a being on some level of consciousness is going to be repelled by that. So the fact that folks, myself included, by the way, when I was fully immersed in these corporate, structures, and I still am. I don't mean on a correct your status regard. I just mean where psychologically I was identified with, this is who I am. I have this job. This is what I do for a living. I live at that house over there, and this is my wife, and these are my hobbies. And all of it was in a corporate sense, right? Versus, I was identified with all of that, and being a taxpayer, being a citizen of the United States, and all of these things. Versus now I'm much less psychologically identified with those things. So even that's a step in the right direction. But then, and Drew was right on, because I did make a comment, because somebody said, what is, who watched documentaries before 9/11? And I typed in me, because I knew I would be the next comment, since the chat was running kind of slow at that time. And then Drew made a funny joke about, he said, here's Benton talking about his favorite thing, him, right? Which is true. I mean, yeah, certainly it is. I am sort of up my own ass much of the time. But I understand how I may come across. Was like, okay, Benton he wasn't into all this networking, and he was out, traveling around the country doing his own thing for so long when he was physically able to. Well, now he's, debilitated physically. I mean, and I am. I'll never view myself that way, right? Like, the way my brain works, I will never view myself as debilitated. But I mean, even compared to what I could do 2 years ago, I'm debilitated. I'm already there, right? And so when he's asking, what's up, man? Like, what's wrong with you? He could tell something's wrong today, right? It's like, yeah, I can tell too, because the fact is, it's amazing, and praise God, right? It is amazing that I'm as functional as I am. That's a miracle on some level, because I am pretty fucked up. I mean, let's call it what it is. This is not good, man. What I've been going through. I mean, I was down to 116 pounds recently. This is very bad, right? So, Rachel's in a bad mood. Although she posted a laughing emoji, so perhaps that's some sort of joke. But always great to see everybody. Hurricane. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and that's what I heard nothing about yesterday. Lest we forget, there was a hurricane just off the coast of New York on 9/11, September the 11th of 2001, and it was projected to be a horrible day. It's supposed to be windy, rainy, and basically like a tropical storm. That was the weather forecast that day for Manhattan. And then around, I think it was 7 a.m. local time, somewhere 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. Just the weather cleared up, and it was just as gorgeous as could be, apparently. And then we know what happened shortly thereafter. So I got to think that hurricane and the weather conditions played a part. To what extent? And people always say, "Well, what are you saying? What do you mean?" I don't know what I mean. I really don't. I can't take it far beyond that. I will say, if we want to talk about some version of a Tesla directed energy or directed energy weapons, well, what is a hurricane? So when somebody wants to ask me, okay, well, what do you mean? What are you trying to say? I'll just ask a question. Well, what is a hurricane? And I've asked people this. Thank you, Pale Horse Rider. And I'll ask people if I am, then great, wonderful. I'm all for that. But and I've had one person correctly answer this, because I've asked people this in real life, right? It's an electrical storm. That's what a hurricane is. And now it's other things also. So which leads me to believe, well, if some entity or some whatever, who knows, is actually, if that event was involved with directed energy weapons, well, there just happened to be an electrical storm, like 40 miles east of there. So I don't know. You tell me what's going on. And that's what I would tell them. I don't know. You tell me. What does it mean? I don't know. And I would encourage anybody that think that, resonates with conspiracy theories or truth or whatever we're calling it, to just resist the urge to explain everything to these people, especially in real life. I just stick to what I can demonstrate for the most part, or if I want to just go off on a conspiracy theory, I will frame it as such, right? I'm like, well, I enjoy conspiracy theories for entertainment, so I can tell you some things, that I've heard as far as the theory, but I don't know what's behind all of this. No idea. Which is not exactly true. I have my opinions about what's behind this. Yeah, well, there you go, Rachel. Exactly. But that last part's my opinion, right? If I have that, and then I think that's can be a trap with some of these people who want me to explain everything. At a certain point, I'm just saying my opinions as if they're facts. And then here's what I've noticed with people. If I'm talking to people about conspiracies, if I say one thing that ends up provably true, now I'm discredited forever. If I'm a person who people do listen to at the level of conspiracies and conspiracy theory and truther information, that one time I make the mistake of saying something, and then later on we're finding out that it's basically I'm a false prophet at that point, as far as they're concerned. Which great, they probably should think that way, I would say. So I've trained myself to really just to stick to what I can demonstrate, because I've noticed when I get into a conversation with somebody, they always want me to explain everything. But then I think a lot of us have aspects of our personality, and we're being seen as an authority. It feels good, right, to be standing there. Oh, now I'm going to explain to you like how it is, right? And these broadcasts are some version of that, certainly. And which is, I like to stick to the pop psychology to some extent, because that is me just sort of generalizing and sort of opinionating, opining about things, versus me just saying, okay, this is what it is. Well, I don't know about that, Rachel. I just enjoy conspiracies, whether they're true or not. This whole stuff about the Beatles and the fake Paul and all. See, I love all that. Billy Shears, if anybody knows anything about that. But then it does tie in with actual things that are provable, right? Like the Tavistock. So like if I wanted to talk to somebody about the Paul is dead and all that, I would probably mainly stick to what is demonstratable, but then every time they'll always be, okay, why? Well, what's the answer to that question? So if I talk about, well, you see pictures of, why did Paul McCartney play the bass left-handed? But then every once in a while, you'll see a picture of him playing the bass right-handed or whatever, whatever that may be. Well, then the person says, well, okay, why? Or why would they do that? Why would they do this? Well, the answer to that question is always the same. And this is been a game changer for me. The answer to that, and that's a very childish thing, right? Because when I'm talking to an adult and they revert to that, well, why? Well, why? That's like what a child says it, but it's not a bad thing that a child says that. But to an adult, the answer to that question, 100% of the time, why, is because they, whoever that may be, has a reason or reasons that made sense to them at the time. And that's literally the answer to every why question if it involves human beings. And I understand that sounds pedantic, it sounds autistic or whatever, but it's true and it sounds dense. That's the answer. The fact that I may not understand the reasons for I may not understand the motivation, but the thing exists outside of me. It doesn't need me to, whether or not I can apprehend or relate to the actual reasons, that has nothing to do with it. And I see a lot of confusion caused. A lot of humans allow that to cause them great confusion. Uh, and I see it in people like Highly Suspect, where he needs to understand why. But I'm like, bro, it's another person. You're probably never going to understand because the reason makes sense to them. So if the behavior doesn't make sense to me, if I'm willing to accept, well, it makes sense to that person, now I understand. Now I have an opportunity to understand the behavior. But if I try to only understand the behavior through what makes sense to me, I can never actually fully relate to that person because they're doing things that seem nonsensical to me. But what's that have to do with anything? If I'm seeking to understand, if I'm seeking to comprehend, if I'm seeking to relate to them, if I'm trying to get on the same level with them, what does the fact that I potentially would never behave based on those motivations, what does that have to do with anything? And now we get into what I believe is also an immature view of things, which is, sort of trying to project what other people's motives are, or even worse, projecting a pure motive onto other people, and then expecting them to act on those motives. And I am very critical of Highly Suspect in certain ways because I've observed that he does that, but it hurts him to do that. It doesn't hurt me that he does that. Who suffers because he does that? He suffers. And so I believe if he continues to do this, arduous work that he's undertaken, he will eventually figure out, okay, why does Highly Suspect want to impute or impugn these people with a pure motive, right? When logic would say, effectively, none of these people can have a pure motive, as far as I'm concerned. But then is it because he believes himself to have a pure motive when maybe he doesn't? See? And I'm not saying I'm right or wrong because he's and here's the fun part, he's the only one who can figure that out and answer those questions. I can't answer those questions for him. Why? Because I'll never have access to the information. Even if he just tells me what he thinks is going on within him, he might be fooling himself. So I will never, ever have perfect knowledge, but he can have perfect knowledge of himself, I would say, if he can tap into himself. And part of Drew making fun of me, and I agree, Drew, I find it hilarious that I'm also this in love with myself to some extent, but some of that is very pragmatic in that how else am I going to know myself to the greatest extent possible? And when we look at all of this, when we talk about wisdom and knowledge and these great teachings or whatever, well, one of them isn't one of those know thyself. Well, how in the world am I going to know myself if I don't spend a great amount of time with myself, using my own, ability to focus and concentrate and go inward? Seems to me like that's the fact that I'm in some version of in love with myself to some extent. It's a great tool for figuring out what in the hell's going on in here. But then now we get into, okay, I'm investigating this thing that I seem to be in love with, but man, this is a lot of these aspects are anything but lovable, right? It's like, good God. And then the pleasing, and then, Big Drink Tea talking about wanting to hear my voice, which there's something to that, and at a certain point, I figured out that, some portion of the audience is only really just listening to my voice at various times, because I know when I'm listening to things myself, I may not have the focus, I may be distracted in the moment, but I'm still listening to the voice, right? And there's a certain comfort to that, especially as the social isolation has become, so, more and more dire over time. Just being able to hear something that's real, right? Something living. And the fact is, the sound of my voice is alive, right? As you hear the sound of my voice, that's a living thing. When you crack open your Bible and read it, that's not alive. That's dead. But see, they want to call it the living scripture. They want to call it, the word of God. The word of God cannot be written into a book. You can't write whatever the word of God is, can't be written into a book, because as soon as it's captured in that form, it's dead. So maybe the person who wrote the words wrote from an apprehension of the living manifested word, whatever that may or may not be. But the written record of that is a dead thing, regardless of what people want to say. That's a person having a feeling and an opinion. They don't want that to be the case, but um, the words in a book can't be alive. Now I can read the works, I can read the words, and I can read the scripture, and then I can bring forth something through my creative force. I can create something that is alive, right? But the book itself is dead. That's just a fact. If people don't like that, it's not my problem. That's its nature. It's not living, but that's part of the reason I think why it's referred to as a living scripture. But it's not. No. Now, can the person internalize enough of those teachings? Because I believe there's a lot of great teachings in the Bible. That's my opinion, right? Can the individual, integrate and understand and comprehend those ideas and make those ideas a part of their own being? That's where the living part is going to be brought, can potentially be brought forth. The book itself can't do anything. Nothing. It certainly can't do anything positive, because you want to talk about negativity and, oh, you're being negative. Well, you can't, the book itself is not positive, meaning that it's not doing anything, right? It's not, positive means assertive, masculine, dominant, active, doing things, right? And it doesn't, I don't mean men. I just mean that's in the yin and the yang, right? Well, that doesn't describe a book. That doesn't describe words on a page now, does it? It's not doing anything. It's just laying there inert. If I read it and put it into my brain, and then it becomes a part of my being, and I apprehend and understand and comprehend those ideas, now I can act positively, assertively. See how it works? But then that's how much whatever that is, right? That's how much the system, and this is where I talk about that our psychologies are, necessarily a part of the system. They're a product of this system. So of course, a person hears these things, word of God, and all of this. Well, I've said this for a long time. A lot of these Christians, it's like, in the beginning was a fucking King James English language Bible floating in space somewhere, right? Because in the beginning was the word. Well, if we think word means written scripture, so you're telling me there's a English language King James version Bible floating in space in the beginning? Like, that doesn't even make sense, right? And then, the living word of God, well, that can't be a book. It can't be words on a page. That's not possible, because words on a page are dead. Like, I don't need anybody else to tell me these things. It's obvious, or it could be obvious, right? It's obvious to me. Now, at one time, it was anything but obvious. So I shouldn't even say it's obvious. I would say anybody who really, anybody of sound mind who wants to investigate this for themselves, don't take my word for it. I'm just a man saying some words. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. And this is where contemplation plays a part. And this is where, again, our psychologies, necessarily being products of the system. Look at how many people, as soon as they encounter a new idea, especially one that they believe they may not resonate with or don't want anything to do with, they tend to reject it out of hand. Well, it's a bad strategy. It's a bad strategy. It's bad for me. What would be better would be to take in the idea, what is that? That's courage. So let's just say I'm fearful of an idea. Well, the idea can't infect me, right? I'm treating this thing like it's a potential disease, right? Or a germ, as if it may infect me and I may not be able to ever get rid of it. See, it's a fear that's irrational, right? We're talking about ideas, rational, logical, right? So, or I can take in the idea, sit with it, contemplate it, and then if it's not valid, I will come to know that it's not valid, and I will then reject it later. There's no advantage to rejecting the idea, on the front end, as far as I can see. Well, I agree, Rachel, but we know that's not happening anymore, and in fact, it's not socially acceptable. But here's what I've said is, if I could advise the young males of anything, and that most of them aren't men, lest we forget, because that is a status, but the young males, I would say, listen, if you decide, this is what I would tell one if they asked for my advice. I would say, listen, if you decide to be a strong man or a strong male, nobody can stop you. But part of that is being able to accept and deal with this society will never accept you on certain levels. Especially a young male who just says, fuck it, I'm going to be a strong man. And if y'all don't like it, too bad. And that's part of being a strong man. See? So when Benton runs around saying, well, this is just how it is, and if you don't like it, that's your fault, that's a very masculine way to view things, right? It's just like, I'm unmoved on that level. It's like, well, that's your problem, right? It's not my problem. But then as we move more and more into something I might describe as collectivism, and I'll, at the risk of getting Carl on my ass today, but that is collectivism, is my behavior is always my thoughts, my ideas, my speech, my writings, my behavior, my choices. It's always put into the context of the collective, and how does the collective view these things? And then I'm going to be rewarded or punished based on how the collective views these things. Well, I reject that out of hand for me personally. And I'm here, it's my life. If I want to reject all of that, if I choose to reject all of that, nobody can force me to accept it. Now, people can say, yeah, but you're not going to have friends. You're not going to have family. You're not going to have this type of job. You're not. Yes, exactly. I'm the type of person who will cut his nose off to spite his face. Good to see you, Terry Miller, by the way. I will do that. See, I will. Right. Because I can't separate the bad from the good. I can't separate. I'm not able to, I should say. It's not possible, in my view, to separate the good or the things that I might want in my life from the things that I view as bad or that I don't want. So if I accept this view that I'm speaking on, well, I'm also accepting the drawbacks. See? So I'm willing to tolerate the drawbacks to get to the advantages, if that makes sense. So many folks just will never aren't able to, and that's a strategic thinker, by the way. So many folks are not willing to view it that way. Right. But then now they're in a position of almost victimizing themselves based on, inserting themselves into things that they don't have to insert themselves into. It's not a requirement. And so when people talk about, all the hours required to earn a living, and we got kids, we got to support ourselves, that's not true, man. It's a lie. That's all a lie. The reality is, if the goal is survival and raising the family and happy and healthy, that doesn't cost a lot of money. All of that can be done without much money. But what it cannot be accomplished without money, and also be viewed in specific type of ways by the people around us. See? And people, this is where people don't know themselves. And I'm speaking to the general public. They don't understand that, or they don't comprehend, or they're not able to really realize that they have decided that they're not willing to live based on other people not, they need other people's validation. So they're not really able to be an independent people who cut their own path in the world. So they're not even doing rugged individualism. And if we have some idea of America, historically, culturally, there's been a lot of that has revolved around so-called, rugged individualism, right? They can't do that because they have to be viewed certain ways by their friends and their neighbors. So they're limiting themselves in those ways. Well, that has nothing to do with me. It's not my problem how they view what I'm doing, right? But then I also realize that everybody is the center of their own universe, and that in fact it's not a concern over how Benton is living. The concern is If I'm living some type of way, now I'm actually holding up a mirror to them, and now they can see themselves, and they don't like that. They don't like viewing themselves as well. They just may have assumed that, well, they didn't really have a choice in the matter. It's like, well, there's always a choice. Everything's a choice. There's never not a choice. It may seem like there's no choice. There's never not a choice. Well, there you go. That's part of it, Terry. But then again, I've asserted that, other than certain dynamics amongst humans, maybe mother child and some other things, I've asserted that, especially with adults, the basis of almost all human interaction is manipulation by nature. It's built in, right? But we view manipulation as so negative, right? The reality is, if somebody has a goal in life and they see me as some sort of person who understands how to get things done and how to do self-improvement and how to discipline oneself, if they view me that way, shit, I lost my point for the first time today. Dadgum's short-term memory. Fuck. Oh, manipulation. Well, the reality is, if I'm coaching somebody, which I have done versions of coaching at times, well, if I'm coaching them, me talking to them, I'm attempting to manipulate them. Period. I'm trying to speak to them in specific ways to motivate them to act in very specific ways. That's a manipulation. But if I'm manipulating somebody such that they need to lose 200 pounds and they lose 200 pounds, right? Was that bad that I manipulated them? Well, I don't know. If you're McDonald's, yeah, that's very bad that I manipulated them in that way. See, it's all depends on the viewpoint. It's all situational. But if I'm just programmed to believe, well, manipulation's bad, okay, well, I guess I can't be seen as manipulative, right? But then why do I have all these skills at manipulating? I don't. What's going on here? What's it about? I like that. I never heard that, Pale Horse Rider. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I think the rant's over. You see, almost 2 hours in. Felt like about 30 minutes. I felt like about 30 minutes. Yeah, not a victim. Well, and Rachel, see, that's a strategy, by the way, not a victim. See, there's no power in being a victim. In fact, to be a victim is to be powerless, right? So as a strategy at the level of logic and reason, I figured out on my own. And again, this is why I say there's no such thing as common sense. It's obvious to me that if I view myself as a victim, I'm choosing to inhabit a space of powerlessness. Well, I'm powerful. I've known that my whole life, even when I was, lost and confused. I have a power that I'm able to tap into no matter what. It's always there. Tapping into one's own, personal power, so-called. That's a real thing. But then again, I don't think it's a coincidence that American society is set up in such a way that we tend to view things as, if I want to accomplish something, that I'm going to accomplish that through an external means, something outside of myself. But in reality, the power is within me, right? I have the power within myself. My power outside of this what I perceive to be a 6 foot, energy sphere that I'm encased in. My power outside of that is very limited. My power within that is damn near limitless in some ways, or it certainly seems to be, right? And as far as I can tell, the most powerful, phenomenon or thing that we know of is the human mind, and we all have one in our skulls, apparently. So the more I'm able to tap into my own mind, my own mental processes, how am I going to be tapping into all that and also view myself as a victim? It doesn't make sense strategically. Now we get into the emotional side. Well, I myself will have a pity party at times. I myself will feel sorry for myself. And that's me more or less going into a state of victimhood and powerlessness, at least temporarily, but I'm not going to stay there. Some folks live there, right? And I would encourage those folks. They don't have to live there if they don't want to. It's a choice. They're choosing to live as victims. So when somebody like Kanye West says slavery was a choice, well, no, slavery is a choice. And on some level, I've chosen slavery. Now, what I choose to bring forth in the future is unknown. That's yet to be determined. But then again, I'm willing to speak that way because I'm going to go into myself. I'm going to figure out what's going on. I'm not going to bullshit myself. And this is going to be the result. Um, yeah. Yeah, exactly, Terry Miller. The entire system is corrupt because it's rooted in corruption. How could it be anything but, right? Again, now we're back to scam nation. The money itself is a scam. What's up, Wolfie? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, the money itself is a scam, but then the banking system is a scam. The corporate retail side is a scam. Big Drink Tea talking about what he deals with, with his businesses. That's all. Not his business is not a scam, presumably, but whatever section of business he's involved with, that's a scam as far as the greater entities he's speaking on, where it's like, oh yeah, illusion of choice and all of this. Yeah, that's scams, right? And middleman after middleman after middleman, and seemingly mostly to steal, obviously to prey upon and steal the substance of the people in some ways, to eat out our substance, but also as a way to pass the buck. Well, so if Big Drink Tea calls me up and he's got some sort of complaint, he's like, hey man, I paid a whole bunch of money for whatever service or product, and whoever he calls up is like, well, no, it's not our fault. They just more and more I'm seeing that a lot of those entities are set up, at least in part, to be able to just point the finger at someone or something else, where Big Drink Tea is sort of resonating with some things that I've said, which is it's just one thing. It's Benito Mussolini's helicopter hand. It's a state, right? But it appears to be these various things, so that people like the Robert Escobar show, and I myself did a version of this for years, can just talk about, he can blame various aspects of the government, or blame the FDA for this, blame the DEA for that, blame the Congress for this thing over here. But it's like, yeah, we don't get anywhere through that. It's just one thing doing all of that, right? And it's doing it. How is it doing it? It's doing it through the subversion of our creative force individually. What the people are doing with their own creative force and their own free will adds up to what we are all experiencing in the realm, which leads me back to my full doomer idea that this is a literal hell realm. And then I have to ask myself, well, if I'm here in a hell realm, and if I know that my essence isn't from the hell realm, and in fact, my essence existed somewhere else before it came to this place, and that it's hopefully leaving here and hopefully never to return, in my view. But so if I'm willing to accept my part in this, then okay, it's like, okay, what did I do to end up in a hell realm? And then it's like, if I'm willing to accept an idea from somebody like Krishnamurti that I am the society, I am the hell realm, I am the dystopia, at least in small part, because I am also contributing, at least in a tiny, minute, minuscule way, to creating what this thing is that we're all living in. So if I'm willing to accept that I'm doing that and everyone else is necessarily doing that, at least to a limited degree, is that the one thing we all share in common? That more or less everybody here in the realm is spirits or souls or whatever we want to call that, that have an inclination to create a nightmare dystopia and then live in it, right? So is the separation of the wheat and the tares, is that where, in order to advance or go to the next thing, for me to evolve my spiritual energy to the point where I will no longer, left to my own devices, tend to create a nightmare dystopia and then live in it. See, these are the things that I've come to understand and know and comprehend over the last, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, however long it's been. I would say 15 years since I've more or less devoted myself to these various practices. That's a long time, right? And then we get into strategery, using time as an ally. So, coming to understand, having an epiphany one day, well, if I'm going to be here for 15 to 20 more years, or however many more years, I don't need to make any measurable amount of progress today. As long as I make a tiny amount of progress every day, that adds up to a large change over time. Even within 1 year, even 365 times of a tiny change. So what needs to be accomplished in a given 24-hour period, I would say, may not be very much. And part of that is avoiding things that are going to take me backwards. Because what's the point of making progress, in one regard if I'm regressing in other regards? What is the point of that? And everyone, we can all do this. I'm not speaking on anything. Oh, Benton, he's lucky, he's fortunate. Well, no, I am fortunate, but it's not luck. As anybody can do these things. Literally anybody. Well, that and other things, right? Yeah. Now, every once in a while, if you've ever seen these real crazy people, if you've ever seen a super crazy person, a lot of them won't even talk to you. Because I was in the streets for so long. When I would encounter these people, I would always try to, if I had something, I might try to give them $1 or give them something, right? And I've noticed a lot of these people, some of them won't even take the money. So it's like it's possible to live in the realm and never use money if you think about it. It's possible, but then, you know, to what degree will I be able to be comfortable? To what degree will I be able to purchase the things that I want to have, right? It's interesting. And then we get into a person having the courage of their convictions, because the money system itself is immoral, right? But then again, all of the systems are immoral and corrupt. So again, now we're back to, it makes sense that my psychology is a product of this system. Part of that is me being indoctrinated to even, being, just subjecting myself to thinking about the taxation, to thinking about the fiat. It's, and I never believed that ignorance was bliss, but in a way it's not bliss necessarily, but it's a way to not experience as much overt discomfort, I would say, or not to have because it's very disorienting and it can be very unnerving to be just sort of, well, now we're untethered, because if a lot of these ideas of the strength of the economy, the strength of the country, the strength of the military, right, that represents a strong force outside of me, that is God, that it becomes God at a certain point. It can be very am I really going to experience those feelings of insecurity? Am I going to experience of the loneliness? Am I going to that is courage, by the way. That's me just saying, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to go into this space come what may, regardless of if people make fun of me, regardless of how I'm perceived. I'm going to do what I know to be true and right, even if I suffer, and knowing that actually it's more likely that I will suffer. But I know that I will suffer far greater by not doing those things. I will suffer the most from not doing those things. And again, what anybody else thinks of it is, that's their problem. It's got nothing to do with me. But again, if I'm psychologically, if I have to have their approval, if I have to be viewed by them in certain ways, well, now I'm a prisoner of that. I'm enslaved to their view of me. See, the things I own end up owning me. And we sort of, a lot of times in society, we kind of behave as if we own each other. We don't belong to each other in that way, as far as I'm concerned. Now, people could, I guess, but not in that way. I don't. When I go into the store and I have behavior very different from some of the other folks, and maybe my voice is different, and the way I behave is different, and the things I say is different. Well, I don't belong to those people. I don't owe them anything at the level of tailoring my presentment to something that might be more pleasing for them. But if I want to manipulate them, which again, is that good or is that bad? I'd say that depends on what, the tree by the fruit, right? But if I'm trying to get something specific out of them, especially if I'm trying to, if I'm person A who's attempting to utilize person B for my own gratification, if I'm person A in that scenario, I'm probably going to tailor my presentment in a way that is not going to appear out of the norm. It's not going to appear, off-putting or bizarre or comical or, making people uncomfortable. I'm probably going to do everything in my power to, make them feel comfortable, so that then I can bring them in to whatever I'm trying to bring them into. But then again, a cult fucking brainwashed me to do that, so I do versions of that to some extent, but I don't do it to try to, put them into a space of being preyed upon, because I've cut that part out of my life where I'm utilizing other people for my own gratification. Even though I may fall into that, I may begin to fall into that at times while I'm observing, I'm paying attention, and I'm going to pull that out by the root. Right. Why? Because I need to be able to look myself in the mirror and realize that I am a good person based on my own thoughts and actions. Whereas at a certain point, I looked in the mirror and realized, wow, I just assumed I was a good person. But it turns out when I'm reviewing the last year or so of behavior, this was years ago, I can only conclude that not only was I not a good person, I was in fact an objectively bad person solely based on what I done. Now we can justify it, and I can say, yeah, but I did this because of this, that, and the third. Well, what's that got to do with it? Again, now we're back to masculinity. Now we're back into, well, if a man is a status and I'm a man through my actions, and a lot of that's going to come down to my own personal code, right? That's where that's going to lie, if that makes sense. And I say believable. See, I used to say unbelievable. Now when I want to say unbelievable, I just go believable. I believe it. It's believable, whatever it may be. But yet seems unbelievable. But as so many unbelievable things pass by on nearly on a daily basis, right? I was like, well, believable. Oh, all right. Yeah, believable. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not surprised by that. That's the sense of entitlement, and that's somebody who hates himself, right? Um, that's someone who's in a bad place and probably needs $2, lest we forget, probably needs to get high, right? That's where most of that money goes. Most of it goes to drugs and alcohol. That's just a fact. Not all of it. Now, I myself, even some of them, because I've done a lot of panhandling, some of the money I spent certainly went to alcohol and cannabis. But then again, much of the time I bought things I needed as well. But yeah, most of that money, unfortunately, goes to drugs and alcohol. But that's just how it is. Most of it, not all. And I feel, again, this person who talks to you that way, see, this is a person who can't have anything because he's most likely a drug addict. And you could give him a nice set of clothes, and then you might see him a week later and he's back in his rags, and you might say, well, what happened to those nice clothes? I bought you some nice shoes and some nice clothes. Well, he traded them for drugs, right? Or maybe you give somebody a really nice backpack and a nice tent, and then a week later you're like, hey man, where's that backpack and that tent? Well, he traded it for drugs. See? So these people, they can't even have nice things. Think about that. It's not that they're poor and they don't have money. I met a guy one time that got $3,000 a month in pension and whatever retirement. And this guy was such a drug addict and he was such a partier that this guy was broke within like 5 days of getting that money because he went out and binged on drugs and probably prostitutes, hookers and blow or whatever. He does this every month and just lives, in his vehicle or whatever. Somebody I met years ago. I'm not in contact with this person, but see, these are the people that I met some of the time living that lifestyle that I lived in the streets. And I call it the disability cycle of misery. So these people actually have resources, a lot of them. And a lot of those folks in the streets asking you for stuff, they get a check. A lot of them get a check every month. But what does that go to? See, where does that money go? They're certainly not buying things that would help make their lives more comfortable. They're buying drugs and alcohol for the most part, or they're going to motels for a week or two and partying until the money runs out, and they're pooling their resources. So then the day comes that now they need to get their fix, or they need to get whatever they got to get well, right? Whatever drugs they need. Now they're trying to harass Rachel for $2, and they're in such a lowly state, they don't care that how she thinks, and they're miserable. See, the person that will curse you for not giving them $2, they're in a state of misery, right? And on some level, misery loves company, right? They want Rachel to be miserable, and in some way they succeeded. And this is not anything against Rachel, but in some way that person succeeded. Now, maybe not with her specifically, but sometimes it does work where you're just like, now that we're both kind of in a bad space, right? Oh, you gave him the money? Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I got you. Oh, when you're just like, I only have a card. Yeah. My thing is, I don't get into reasons why, because sometimes they're like, oh, I have fucking Cash App, or I have Square, or I have whatever, right? Like some of these people turn into salesmen when you're like, oh, all I have is this, or all I have is that. Some of them will then try to turn into a salesperson and overcome your objections, right? You're like, fuck this. And I'll go back to it. if you can tell someone's about to ask you for something and you know there's a high likelihood you're not going to be able to meet their request, but you still want to treat them as a human, as soon as I can, here's what I start doing. See what my head's doing? Just a very subtle, this is a very strong, subtle, this is a symbol, right? This goes right into their subconscious mind. You're already telling them no. Look at this. So they already know I'm going to say no. See, I'm already kind of letting them down easy by going. And then when they want to launch into the sob story, I just go, what do you need? Because I don't want to hear the sob story. I might help them, right? In fact, they might need a specific thing that I can help them with right now. But at first, it's like, just let them know, probably not going to happen. But then now sob story, I'm just dismissing the sob story. And then it's like, what do you need? And any version of them not just saying what they need, I'm just walking off, right? Because see, I'm taking charge of the interaction. But we're not set up that way, right? As people. And I was trained to sort of be able to do this in a way. Like some of this is skills I've developed, on the back of what the cult taught me, the Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm in charge of what I'm doing, right? So if this other person is inserting themselves into my day, well, I'm good. More often than not, I'm going to take charge of that interaction. Now I'm free to just ignore them. I'm free to just look at them and keep walking, right? If I want to. But yeah, exactly. And I became an expert living in the streets with nothing. I became an expert in utilizing my, and even before that, utilizing my body language to give people specific messages, right? So that they, I'm communicating with them even before, we start to talk to each other. So just that, because, I want to treat people decently. I want to treat them like a person. I want to do that. But I don't feel bad. See, the reality is I help people. I've helped a lot of people. I don't talk about it. That's part of my thing, right? Is I must help people. I have to, in based on my own beliefs and code, right? But maybe not this time, right? This may not be the time. And I feel no guilt. I don't feel anything, because it's like, if it's a no, it's a no. And they're the ones imposing on me. And these are the people who are experts at imposing on you and then making you feel like you're rude. And I bet I've said this to somebody 100 times. Where I've gotten involved in a conversation with someone, and then they say, well, you don't have to be that way. You know what I tell them? I say, you came up and talked to me. I said, I didn't come up and talk to you. I said, what are you talking about? And it's authoritarian. It's dictatorial. These people, and I'm not talking about homeless people, I'm just talking about people in general. A lot of folks feel entitled to specific reactions from me, such that they've inserted themselves into my life, and now they're actually dictating to me that I should have a specific response. And I'm like, fuck you, man. Because I reject that out of hand. I'm not a part of that. I don't have anything to do with that. And it's not rude. See, if I say, hey, man, fuck you, it's fucked up, that's not me being rude. That's them being rude. See, but now we're trying to take the passive role of just putting everything off on me, right? But then again, why would I care about being viewed as rude in that moment? See, oh, well, now we're back to what I talked about earlier. I'm trying to be viewed a certain type of way potentially in society. See, and now I know I'm being watched, because if I'm being asked for money, I'm probably in public somewhere, right? So now it's like, oh, well, if I don't handle this a particular type of way, I'm going to lose face. And when in reality, everybody is the center of their own universe. Even if everybody focuses on me for 2 minutes, nobody has an attention span. Nobody has a memory. That there's not going to be repercussions unless somebody just happens to be recording and I happen to do something crazy. But even that, goes into the internet, and that's soon lost and forgotten. So what's it even matter, right? What's it even matter? Yeah, there's not. Well, I'm not saying don't have empathy. See, that's different. Empathy is, and I did empathy earlier. See, for me, empathy is to realize that this person is living a way where he can't have nice things. He can't. See, you can't relate to that, Rachel, because if you save up your money and you buy a nice possession, you're able to have a possession. If you were a drug addict, you would have to trade that possession for drugs at some point. So these people can't have nice things. It's think about that. That's empathy from my perspective, is realizing, oh my God, that would be horrible. Right. I spent my own money one time on a $65 tent I ordered on Amazon. It was a nice tent. And I was setting it up and sort of, I was spraying the waterproofing on it, the silicone or whatever. And, I'm getting it prepped for use. And at the time, a lot of my friends on a daily basis were drug addicts. Right. And one of them was sort of making fun of me for buying a tent. And that's when I figured it out. He was basically like, why did you waste your money on? See, he said, waste your money. And I got mad when I heard him say, waste your money. Cause I'm sensitive too. Right. And I was probably, wasn't in a good space at the time either. Right. I was probably cranky or whatever. So I got kind of mad at him, but then later on I got to thinking about it and I was really analyzing what he said. Cause see, he views that as a waste of money. Because why? Because he can get more drugs with $65 in cash than he can get for trading that tent for drugs. See, if he trades the tent for drugs, he can probably only get $5 to $10 worth of drugs. But if he has $65, he can get $65 worth of drugs. Seriously. But I don't think that way because I'm not a drug addict. So that's how I figured that out. Deductive reasoning. I had an epiphany, intuitively, some version of a Sherlock Holmes, right? So now I have a basis for empathy towards my friend. Oh, he can't. Which then I realized, somebody could give him a fucking Mercedes Benz. Somebody could give him a house. Somebody could give him a house and he wouldn't be able to hang on to it. Can't have anything nice. Nothing. You could give him, and this is where we talk about pearls before swine in a way. It's like you could give him $1 million. It's going to drugs. He's no choice. It's not up to him. He's a slave to those drugs. Can't even have a $65 tent. So much so that he thinks I'm the idiot for saving up $65 and buying a tent that I use for years. Like I got $1,000 of use out of this tent easy, probably more. Right. But I'm the idiot. Well, in his mind, I am. I am an idiot for doing that in his world. That would be a dumb thing to do if I was a drug addict. He just didn't have the intelligence to factor into his fucking decision, into his, his formula. Oh, wait a minute. We got a different variable over here because Benton is not a drug addict. Right. Oh, for some people, well, I talked earlier exactly how long it doesn't last, but it's not up to them because they're a slave. But yeah, when I talked about the guy that he blew through $3,000 every month within, within like a week max. So how long does it $70, $65? Probably do it all at once, right? Right. In fact, if you gave the guy 10 grand, it'd probably kill him. Some of these people. I mean, seriously, some of these people and some of these folks, rehab kills them because they get off of drugs and they reform their life, but then they have a relapse and they overdose because they're not used to the drugs anymore. They're not used to now they don't have a tolerance. They're susceptible to overdose. Whereas if they had just kept doing the drugs and never gotten off of them, then probably they wouldn't have overdosed in that one instance, if that makes sense. Although a lot of them are overdosing all the time anyway, as we know, because it's obviously, the Kensington and all of that stuff, some of those folks have been Narcaned 100 times probably. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Much appreciated. Yeah. So that's the way things operate. So, and this may help you all understand me a little better is I'm out here in this realm but what I just explained to you, I have that level of understanding. That's about 10% of, and I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying I understand what I just told you. And I understand far greater things that I'm really not even able to verbalize all the time. But, how am I going to be out here in this world with this level of understanding and live, based on corporatism or based on all of these notions of well, who's going to pay for the roads? All that stuff. When I went off on that diatribe, either yesterday or the day before, I don't even remember when, but whenever that was. You see what I'm saying? Like I can't really separate the two. So now it's like, yeah, now we're back to the ignorance is bliss. Well, no, it's not. It's just it's easier, right? It's easier in a way, for because I can remember the days when I was able to just go with the program, but I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't content. I was miserable, but I didn't see that I was miserable because I was just, going off and doing what I had to do to make a living. And then, just so I could go home at the end of the day and play with my computers and isolate myself and, you know, do my hobbies, which at the time was, drag racing. And I had a lot of friends, but just I was immersed in my own activities, if that makes sense. Not that I had a bad life, but it wasn't a life that would have ever lent itself to any sort of spiritual growth, right? And if you look at, we can look at suburbia, we can look at, church going, we can look at, just the way people are living. None of that in any way supports, facilitates, or enables people to grow physically, or I'm sorry, spiritually. Thank you, Rachel, for the 777. Much appreciated. Yeah, see, none of that, the way all of this is structured, and especially when I talk about the national religion as consumerism, that's actually, we could say in a way it's designed to keep people from spiritual growth, right? But then again, I can't be denied, right? There's something within me that is undeniable. There's something within me, whether or not that's my spirit or something outside of me that I'm tapping into, I really can't tell, but does it matter? If I can tap into it, does it matter whether or not it originates with me? Since I'm set up for effectiveness, that's not my concern. My concern is, what can I access? What can I do? So, I don't pray every day, but I have at times. And I pray for one reason and one reason only. I don't pray because a book told me to. I don't pray because y'all think, not y'all, but I don't pray because maybe a church or a pastor thinks it's a good idea. I pray because it works. Now, why does it work? I have no idea. I know this: prayer works, and even if there wasn't a Bible, prayer would still work. So whatever existed, right, that may or may not have caused human beings to write the Holy Bible, if that book had never been written, all of those dynamics that led to it being written would still exist. So I think a lot of us have a backwards view of the Bible, especially people who attempt to live based on some of the principles. The book did not create the principles, right? The principles created the book, at least in the parts of it that are still, resonating with true knowledge or true principles, right? It's backwards. But then again, here we are in an inverted world. So of course people view the book as creating and bringing these things forth. No. It's the opposite. So what do I need a Bible for? But then again, it's for me to extract what's useful to me, integrate that into my being, just like the Quran, which I've read, and I've extracted portions of the Quran and integrated them into this being. Same thing with the Bible. Same thing with some of the Eastern stuff, especially a lot of the Buddhist material, some Hindu stuff. Yeah, it's take what works for me, put it in there, integrate it, contemplate it, live it. Now we can bring something into life. Now I can create something. See, but if I'm trying to do the book, if I'm trying to stick to the letter of the book, trying to line it all up with the book, I don't see a book that I can line everything up with. I don't see that. What book is that? It's definitely not the Holy Bible. It's not the Quran, as far as I can tell, but it's part of it. Those are both part of it. Certainly not the whole thing. Yeah, there you go. Well, but I am the church, right? In some way, not in a Christian sense. I just mean, if the kingdom of God is within me, right? The book says that, right? Well, what does that mean? Tolstoy wrote a whole book about that. Didn't he have a book entitled something about the kingdom of God is within you? I think so. Right? So it's not in the building. Now, if I'm in the building called a church, well, that's different, right? But I don't need to go to the building to access the kingdom of God if it's within me. But then what are we even talking about? So, it's like we're already far afield because we're talking about God. And so now we're already lost to some extent. Now we're already lost to some extent because we're speaking English. You know, how in the world am I going to be speaking English and thinking in English, you know, reading in English and not be some version of lost some of the time, right? Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just catching up on the chat. Yep. Good stuff, y'all. Yep. I agree, Gary. I agree. I love my life. Even as it is now, right? Even as it's not fun. It's not always fun, you know, but sometimes it's great. It's awesome. Sometimes it's the best thing ever. Right. So yeah, most def. Oh, it's Z's live, right? Well, we figured out yesterday because I stayed live long enough, and at a certain point there was like 30 people here and there was like 95 over there. So I don't think it even matters at this point whether we're live or not at the same time. So that's good. That's good. I don't need to concern myself with that. But if anybody wants to go check him out, please do. Well, thank you, Rachel. I certainly was not expecting that, but thank you. Thank you very much. And once I get this first YouTube payment, I might just turn the super chats off. I don't know because I have no idea how it's going to. I might be astonished by how much of y'all's money, by the way, y'all's money that they keep for themselves. So I don't mind them keeping a portion. I have no problem with that. However, if it's excessive, and it may be excessive, so we'll see. But it's a good problem to have. Like I told Big Drink Tea, it's a good and good to see you, Nuba. By the way, Nuba in the house. Good to see you, brother. Yep, life is a journey, not a destination. Indeed, indeed, sir. But yeah, thanks again, Rachel. Much appreciated. Yeah, need a break from Z every now and again. There you go. There you go, Nuba. But I don't know how much more I have. I mean, I'm kind of inclined to keep going, although it probably is time for me to break the fast, right? And I do prefer to eat earlier in the day for the most part. So I may be letting you folks go. Actually, let me go do a couple of things and then we'll wrap up. How about that? So let's do this. If y'all don't mind. And then in the meantime, whoever wants to go check out Z can check him out. And then if he, you know, depending on what he's cooking up, not that I know I'm not keeping you from that, but there's options, right? I'm not greedy in that sense of trying to just keep everybody in, you know, in my own, you know, whatever we're doing over here. Give me a second. We're going to put the banner up and I'll be back shortly, folks. Thanks for being here, by the way. All right, that was a quick one. I just had to check in on the slow cooker. I'm trying Japanese, you know, those purple sweet potatoes for the first time today. I'm looking forward to that. It's supposed to be even more nutritious. And I know some folks are anti-vegetable, but it's worked for me here of late. In part, also meat. I'm a meat eater also, but you know, lest we forget. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be back. Sometimes I'm not gone for long, right? Sometimes I'm not gone for long, but yeah, motorcycles. No, snakes. Yes, indeed. Indeed, Wolfie, snakes are everywhere. Um, but then I get into the idea of donations, and I get into, so as part of me being in this realm, I must, necessarily earn a living, right? And, at least support myself. And so, if I can do a broadcast every day and maybe a couple of other side hustles or, some version of that. And I'm happy to do this every day, as long as I'm here. It seems like a thing I'm able to do, these broadcasts. And then I've got, intelligent, capable people like Big Drink Tea that want to tune into me, right? And want to hear my voice. So, and I don't need to make it transactional. It's more of a thing of, if I'm not receiving enough to, support myself, I'm probably not offering enough value, as Mr. Unslaved would put it. I'm probably not, because supposedly whatever I put out, I'm going to get back tenfold, and I do believe that to be true, and I've seen it to be true. So probably I'm not giving enough, even though I might think that I am, right? So that's sort of a thing to motivate me to do better, if that makes sense. Um, you know, for me to step my own game up, and I get to do my thing. I get to work on my skills and work on my broadcasting and all of this. And I've got some things I need to work on just generally. So that's all exciting, right? And certainly the health issues are not going to stop me, at least not in the near term, right? But then again, we're all going to succumb to something at some point, whether it's health, whether it's an accident, or just old age, even. And somebody's got an actual telephone in here. It's amazing. I hear an actual telephone ringing. Um, well, exactly. That's right, divine spirit. So it's hard for me to feel sorry for myself. When it's just some of this is me just having not resolved certain things that I need to resolve within my own life and within myself. And I trust. I really do trust. I've been provided for my whole life in a way. And I don't mean like I've just laid back and let things come to me. That's not what I'm talking about. Because I've, been a hard worker my whole adult life and all of these things, and I'm happy to work for, what I need to acquire. That's not the issue, but it's the time. And as we see, this corporate system is set up in such a way to, more or less monopolize my time and my very essence and humanity. But then, give me just enough to maybe be able to subsist, right? But then if I'm having to put all of my time and energy into just mere subsistence, and then maybe I would rather just have my time to myself and figure out how to get by with less. And that's worked for me well in the past, right? But now it seems like, maybe a time to figure out how to actually get better at, even if it's me trying to figure out how to get my hands on a certain amount of fiat in a given time, right? So I'm excited to do that, even as I understand I don't really know how to do those things. That's part of the fun, right? Yeah, oxidation and telomere degradation. Yeah, I like the way you put that, Gary. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up. I am getting kind of hungry, and thanks again to Miss Rachel for her generous donations. I certainly appreciate it, and we'll hang out just a couple more minutes just to see if anything pops up. There you go, Terry. Terry said, "Would love to change the world. Don't know what to do, so leave it up to you." Yeah, but I don't think we're meant to change this realm. I think, just my opinion, I think I'm meant to change myself and then go somewhere else after this life, hopefully. Right. So whatever it is that will still be existing after this body dies, right? I want that thing to be able to leave here and go on to bigger and better things and not have to come back here and do this again. Unless that spirit was to choose to come back here, right? Who knows? Maybe there is something to that some of those Eastern ideas around, incarnation and all of that. Well, thank you, Rob. Much appreciated. I think, and that's why it's important, because if I had just, if I had only considered myself in a way, there would not have been a live stream today. Right. Because I knew I had nothing. I was like, fuck, I got nothing, man. And if you go back and watch like the first 15 minutes of this thing, it's just me more or less treading water. But then, hey, you know, the link was posted, and here came Big Drink Tea, and you know, we ended up having a great conversation. And I'm hoping he'll choose to be, you know, a part of the broadcast, and hopefully he emails me, and you know, as I network more and more. Hasn't happened yet, but oh yes, he emailed me. I figured he would. So, you know, networking and all of these things. And hey, Rob with the $5. All right, thank you, sir. Much appreciated. But yeah, I guess that's all I've got. I'll just sit here for 5 more minutes and see what y'all got, and then I'll probably click the button. And hopefully I haven't disturbed those around me too much with my loud voice. I don't think we saw Da Freak today, but hopefully he'll be around at some point. Because I've been talking to him about maybe going out to Phoenix and staying with him, you know, long enough to at least figure out what my next move is. Because I think I'm about done with this town for now, anyway. Certainly, I've had my fill of the shitty internet. I don't know, Gary. Probably not, man. Probably not. It's hard to say. Oh, and it is. In fact, I must go now because this is what's been happening with me streaming lately. It was good for me when I was wrapping up for Z to go live, because then, you know, then I had time to do my own chores. But I have to do my laundry today. I should have done it Sunday. So we're already 2 days, you know, it's laundry day for Mr. Benton. And then I want to go get me a watermelon probably, and I need to go ahead and eat. So, you know, I have things I need to do, obviously. But I don't know. It's possible, Gary. It's hard to say. I would say probably not, but who knows? Who knows, sir? Who knows? Well, anyway, appreciate everybody being here. I'm going to go ahead and click the button. Thanks again to Rob and everybody. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Big Drink Tea for being here. Awesome to be here with you folks. And I'm sure I will see many of you in various live chats throughout the day. And remember, Chalk Body Outline was live with EBT and the Machine Lies on outlining our enslavement. And I did not get to see the whole thing, but I'm pretty sure they covered some very interesting ideas for those of us who do enjoy thoughts and ideas. And regardless of what has ever gone on with the dynamics between me and various other personalities, you know, I do separate that in my own mind from the material and the content and you know, what the person is able to offer of value, right? So whether or not me and Drew get along, I'm still most likely going to be a fan of his channel, you know, going forward. And so I'm glad to see he hasn't muted me on Chalk Body Outline. I think I am muted on Get Chalked Up, but I am glad to see that he's not muted me there. So, you know, at least I can, because that was my favorite channel for quite a while, and it's still one of my favorites. Again, regardless of the person who runs the channel, right? And I do to this day have a great deal of respect for Drew on many levels. I will go ahead and put that out there. That's just a thing, right? But whether or not I can get along, or whether or not he can get along with me, that's what I call personality politics, and that's a separate thing entirely. And I'm sure I'm to blame for much of that as well, although I don't think I'm solely to blame, obviously. But anyway, peace out, everybody. We'll most likely see y'all tomorrow. Thanks and as I said, many of you I'll be seeing later today in the live chats. Thanks for watching. Bye.